Okay, I make it 9:15, so I'm going to make a start. Good morning, everybody. You're all very welcome to our webinar on navigating the evidence, a webinar for nurses and midwives with an overview of eLibrary resources in Ireland for nursing and midwifery research and practice. Now, this is the second time that we have run this webinar, so it's becoming an annual event. It has been made successful really through our collaboration with the Chief Nursing Office at the Department of Health and the Director of Nursing and Midwifery Services here in the HSE. And I'm really delighted to work in partnership across the health service to support nurses and midwives in their research and their practice. This webinar has Category 1 approval for CPD from the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland. So our agenda for today is displayed here on the screen. Let me just share that 1 second, apologies. And as you can see, we have a full and packed schedule. So we've built in 3 comfort breaks. You'll see them there in orange. And that is really to allow for a rest from screen time and from listening, and to give you also the opportunity to ask any questions or just to take a break. Now, if you would like to ask questions or make comments, please use the chat function. We will be monitoring the chat function throughout the morning. We may not be able to answer all of your questions, but if we cannot, we will make a note and we will get back to you after the webinar. So at the end of the webinar, we've allowed extra time for you to build on any questions. We may not have all the speakers with us for the entire duration. So if you do have a question, make sure to use the breaks to do that. And at the very end of today's session, you'll be directed to fill out a post-evaluation survey. It would be extremely helpful for us if you could fill this out, as it informs future events and really helps us to continually improve. And it really only takes about 2 minutes. In terms of some housekeeping, everybody is muted upon arrival and entrance to the webinar, with the exception of the panelists and the speakers. Panelists and speakers have the ability to unmute themselves. I'd ask that panelists remain on mute unless they are presenting to prevent background noise and disruption. It is always important for any webinar or educational event to have some learning outcomes. So to that end, Bloom's Taxonomy for Education is a good framework in which to set learning outcomes. There are 6 categories in Bloom's revised Taxonomy for Education objectives. And I've highlighted 3 here in yellow that I've set as some of the learning outcomes for today. So they are to apply search techniques post-webinar, to understand the different resources covered in today's session and what they may be useful for, and to retain information from the different speakers you're going to hear this morning, which will be relevant to your work and your practice. Just in terms of Health Library Ireland, it has its headquarters here, the yellow dot on the screen. That's Dr. Stephen's Hospital, where myself, my colleagues Anne Kearns and Gethin White are based. And we also have 26 other libraries spread out throughout the country. Our service is aligned with the soon-to-be regional health areas, and the East is made up of areas A and B and is managed by Area Library Manager Benary Rickard. Oh, okay. Sorry, Anne just told me you're not seeing my presentation. Not sure why that is. Apologies for that. Let me do that again. There. Is that better?
That's there. Oh.
Can you see that? Yeah, thanks, Gethin. Apologies for that, I don't know what happened there. As you can see now on the map, the yellow dot is Dr. Stephen's Hospital, where I'm based, and the green ones are all the libraries around the country. The red ones represent the area library managers. In areas A and B is the red one there in the east is Connolly Hospital, that's managed by Benary Rickard, the area library manager for the east. And then in areas C and D, that area is managed by Brendan Lean, who's based in Cork University Hospital and St. Luke's in Kilkenny. And in areas E and F, in the west, that's managed by Area Library Manager Anthony Lannan, who's based at Galway University Hospital at Merlin Park. As you can see, we're kind of a small, we have not a huge amount of staff. We have 59 staff, 49 WG. We have 27 physical hospital library sites, and we became a national service back in 2017. So although we're a small staff in the grand scheme of the HSE, we deliver value-added services to support the work of all healthcare professionals right across the country. And I've included a contact us slide here with some generic email addresses as well as my own and Anne Kearns. Our website details, I'm drawing your attention to those, hselibrary.ie, where you get access to electronic resources, and to LAMA. This is our library Ask Me Anything virtual library assistant, which is powered by artificial intelligence. And LAMA can help you out of hours 24/7, available to ask questions. So I'm going to go back to the agenda, and I'd now like to welcome Georgina Bassett, Deputy Chief Nurse from the Department of Health, who is going to address. Thank you.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Look, I'm delighted to be here this morning, colleagues, representing our Chief Nurse, Rachel Kenna, and the Chief Nursing Office. Nursing and midwifery, really, we underpin all our practice with evidence, and we pride ourselves on it. And having the knowledge and skills to be able to do this well is very important. So Aoife and her team in the HSE Health Library have amazing e-library resources to support our professions as we continue to expand our practice and innovate for improved outcomes for our patients. So today, this morning, should prove very useful in informing us of how to navigate through the resources to meet our learning needs. And I look forward to hearing more from Lorna, Peelo-Kilroe, on the current research priorities that are facing nursing and midwifery. And I suppose we have the expert review body on nursing and midwifery report to implement over the next 2 years. So we've started our implementation on this, and this is giving us a huge opportunity, I suppose, to reform our professions, utilising the very best of evidence available to us. So I hope that you really enjoy the morning. I won't delay any further, and thank you again to Aoife and the team. It's a great opportunity for us here this morning. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Georgina, for your address. I'm now going to pass over to Dr. Geraldine Shaw, Nursing and Midwifery Services Director. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Aoife, and good morning to everybody. As Director of the ONMSD, I'm delighted to have the opportunity this morning to speak to all of you, to say a few words and to give a message around library services and research. And so to all our speakers and to all our colleagues online from right across the country, so welcome to you all this morning to this seminar, which has been organised in the main by the library, Aoife and her team, which we're very grateful to all the time for being innovative in this space. It's essential, and don't need to tell the audience today, for nurses and midwives that how important research is to all of us. Nursing and midwifery, that makes up over a third of the workforce, 36% thereabouts approximately, providing day-to-day care for patients with the hands-on function. It's important that our care is based on the best available evidence, and availing of evidence, one source certainly is the library to do all of that. Many nurses and midwives nationwide are involved in clinical audit of current practice against the standards that are set. But research is a little bit different, and research seeks new knowledge. Audit seeks to ensure that existing knowledge is being put into practice. So if I could put it lyrically for you, and this is a very nice way of looking at it. Audit asks, are we singing this song right? Research asks, are we singing the right song? So I think that's quite a good analogy in terms of trying to kind of space the two out. So from all our perspective in nursing and midwifery world, and we like to, and we don't obviously claim praise that often for bringing things to fruition, but remember, it was Florence Nightingale way back in the day that started research, certainly in the nursing and midwifery field, and she measured illness and infection rates amongst the Crimean soldiers. And she used those results to petition the British government to improve conditions. Nursing and midwifery has a rich history of research, but too few nurses and midwives realise really that Florence Nightingale was a pioneer in this particular area of practice. So just think about it for a minute. Without Florence Nightingale's research, we wouldn't have been able to convince others that sanitisation was important to surviving sepsis, just the basics. Today in Ireland, we're very lucky to have advanced, and we've got sepsis programs and we've got various early warning scores that inform us regarding a patient's deteriorating condition, which when you consider it really, you know, the pioneering of all that was done by Florence Nightingale. But thankfully we have moved along quite a bit in terms of, you know, transformation with healthcare, and we're really lucky to have those, which was all brought about by the participation of nurses and midwives, and leading indeed on all of these programs as well to bring this to where we are today. This is only one reason for research, right, especially in nursing and midwifery. Through research, we demonstrate our contribution to health and wellness. We answer questions about our practice and confirm our knowledge. The purpose of nursing research from the past up until today is to provide empirical evidence to support nursing and midwifery practice, and it helps us all to provide excellent patient care. Research and evidence on their own don't accomplish anything unless they're put into practice. Evidence-based practice needs to be implemented in every clinical setting to improve patient outcomes through the development of policies, procedures, protocols and guidelines that further support clinical practice. It is the application of the best knowledge based on research and measurement that are used to improve the quality of healthcare, the clinical experience, the patient preferences, to achieve optimum outcomes for our patients that we care for. Patients and our service users need to know that the care that they receive is founded upon best practice and of the highest quality, thus protecting them from harm and maintaining their dignity and well-being at all times. This can be best achieved by ensuring that nurses and midwives are skilled at using the best available evidence whilst carrying out their day-to-day duties. This requires support and access to research evidence to enable nurses and midwives to evaluate the research and data with the necessary skills to put that into practice. The national team of librarians, some of them are online here for you, and Aoife has outlined where they're situated nationwide, work to ensure that the best possible research and evidence underpins decision making and advances patient care in health service. It's important to use trusted, authenticated sources of information for research, and that you can be assured of through Aoife and her teams nationwide. They provide a great service and support nurses and midwives to find best evidence in practice and provide access to a wealth of resources, which I encourage you all to use. Easy access to information in your clinical area of expertise will help you to make better evidence-based decisions and enhance the standards of care for our patients. Innovations in library services have indirectly produced significant improvements in patient care. The library can customise your learning and research to meet your needs in all specialties of practice. The library staff are committed and have the skills to support healthcare professionals to do research. The ONMSD and the HSC Library Service have a long partnership and history of working together, and we look forward to continuing that into the future. We also do that in collaboration with our colleagues in the Chief Nurse's Office in the Department of Health, of which Georgina is here today, and we work very closely with Georgina and Rachel, the Chief Nurse, and all the colleagues in the department as well, to ensure that nurses and midwives have access to the best evidence information that will guide practice into the future. Last month, we were delighted in the ONMSD to publish research priorities for nurses and midwives for the next 5 years. And Lorna is going to speak to you about this very shortly, but that's what it looks like in reality. It's small, neat and very well put together. So I won't say anything more about that, but that has come together with the collaboration of all nurses and midwives nationally in all of the different services area. I hope you find this seminar useful this morning and informative, and I hope that it will be of benefit to you and it will assist you in your practice. And certainly from our own perspective in the ONMSD, and I know I speak for the colleagues in the library and the Chief Nurse's Office as well, we'd be happy to support, and please do contact if there's anything we can assist with. We'll certainly try our best for you all. So enjoy the seminar this morning, and I look forward to hearing Lorna give us a brief about the nursing and midwifery research priorities. Thank you, Aoife.
Thank you very much, Ger. I appreciate the nice comments there about the library services to my staff. Without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Lorna Peelo-Kilroe from Nursing and Midwifery, who's going to talk to you about research priorities. And Lorna, hopefully you can share your slides there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aoife. I hope you can see my slides on the screen here. Thank you for the opportunity to share research priorities for nursing and midwifery for 2023 to 28. I want to give you a little bit of background first on this work, share a small sample of our methodology, and then present you the research priorities. So Dr. Geraldine Shaw, who's just spoken, Director of ONMSD, commissioned this piece of work as part of our continuing professional development, service improvement and innovation. The target group were nurses and midwives working in the HSE and HSE funded agency, in particular Section 38. The aim of this was to identify the future research priorities for nursing and midwifery professions for the period 2023 to 28. And our objectives were to elicit the opinions of nurses and midwives, to identify practice that requires further research, and then to assist senior nursing and midwifery leaders in making informed decisions about the direction of future research to most benefit practice and service delivery. Our literature review took a two-pronged approach. We first looked at literature on research priority setting methodologies and research priorities that were out there. And then we looked at current strategic policy documents influencing nursing and midwifery, both nationally and internationally. Then we distilled down to look at the relevant and influential Irish healthcare strategic documents, and of that across all the different disciplines within nursing and midwifery. And of that we identified 28 current documents. We distilled those down to the most relevant documents across all the disciplines, so the documents that apply to all the disciplines within nursing and midwifery. And we identified Sláinte Care Action Plan for 2022, the report on the expert review body on nursing and midwifery by the Department of Health, and the ONMSD strategic plan for 2023 to 25. We identified 10 key priority areas out of those 3 documents. And these priority areas are nursing and midwifery workforce, addressing health inequalities towards universal health, digital health, governance and leadership structures, clinical expertise, quality and safety, service change and transformation, service user engagement, improving safe, timely access to care and promoting health and well-being, and education. Now, our methodology used a 2-phased process. Phase 1 was a modified Delphi technique of 2 sequential rounds of online questionnaires via Smart Survey and distributed through established communication structures and the ONMSD Twitter account. Phase 2 was a modified nominal expert consultation, group consultation, to further refine the data from Phase 1, reflecting the findings from the surveys into broad research surveys. So now, Phase 1, Survey 1 here, respondents were asked to choose priority areas for future research from the 10 strategic priorities we identified from the literature. And they also had an opportunity to use the free text option provided to identify up to 3 research topics relating to each priority. We had 599 respondents and we had 2,705 topics identified from that. We used content analysis to identify categories and subcategories from the open-ended responses. Frequencies for each category were determined, and we identified 10 most frequently occurring categories from that. These 10 categories with 47 associated subcategories formed the basis for Survey 2. So these 10 categories then are not unlike the first 10: service delivery, the role of nurses and midwives, digital health, governance and leadership, clinical expertise, workforce planning, service change and transformation, service user involvement, education and development, and access to services. Respondents were asked to rate on a 7-point Likert scale the level of importance they attributed to each of the 47 categories. We had 179 responses. Data was analysed on Smart Survey and inputted to SPSS version 28 for further analysis. So the survey results, well, just to give you a small bit of graphic data which may be of interest to you relating to respondents' area of practice. And the orange bar there relates to survey 1, and the green bar relates to survey 2. So that shows you the breadth of respondents' area of practice here. Demographic data relating to respondents' grade or role here was also captured, which may be of interest. And then the overall mean scores for each category. And the highest scoring area, which may not be a surprise, is workforce planning. And the lowest score was governance and leadership. But the mean scores between the highest and lowest actually there's very little difference between them. So all of these 10 categories were seen as important with little variance between them. Phase 2 then took place with the nominal group consultation, and we sought representation from the group directors of nursing and directors of midwifery and area directors. We also looked for representation from directors of nursing and midwifery from all disciplines. The Department of Health Nursing and Midwifery Policy Unit, the NMBI, Nursing and Midwifery Unions and professional bodies, HEI and technological universities, HSE Research and Development, and our own ONMSD team. And the research priorities then were established. We identified 10 research categories and 20 research statements. So time doesn't allow me to go into any detail here, but for example, the highest scoring category, workforce planning, no surprise that recruitment and retention would be an important area, along with workload, skill mix, safe staffing, and health and well-being to support nurses and midwives. Service user involvement and access to services, these tended to overlap in the data, so we put them together here. And for example, what nurses and midwives said that they, looking at how to enable and empower meaningful and authentic service user engagement, and how nurses and midwifery workforce could support access to the right care at the right time. Service delivery looked at, for example, enabling the integration of acute services with community services and the barriers to enable effective communication between these sectors. The role of the nurse and midwife, for example, the contribution and impact of nurses and midwives in an evolving healthcare system to deliver on population health. And clinical practice and expertise looked at supporting the implementation and impact of high quality, person-centred, evidence-based nursing and midwifery practice. And finally, the last 3 areas in the category, or 4 areas, service change and transformation and digital health, they overlapped quite a bit. And there was a focus on the impact of digital technology on service user outcomes, for example, and also nursing and midwifery professions adapting to a digital future. Education and development looked at, for example, clinical and academic education, exploring the role, who's involved and what they do and how they interact together. And then governance and leadership looked at the role and support structures influencing nursing and midwifery in leadership and management. The working group, Dr. Geraldine Shaw kindly asked me to lead on this, and I was very happy to do so. And I worked with Dr. Vanessa Clark, Anne McCarthy, Annie Deja Dasson, Binny Anoop and Dr. Mary Nolan, all from the ONMSD family, and Dr. Anne Gallen, NMP Area Director, acted as an advisor to the group, and she chaired the nominal group as well. Thank you very much for your attention this morning. For a digital copy of the full report that George just showed on the screen there, you can get a digital copy on the ONMSD website on that link there, or you can search ONMSD publications. It'll bring you straight into it. And there we have a more detailed breakdown of the various areas and scorings within that research priority setting. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Lorna. Very interesting presentation and a report I think all of the nurses and midwives will be interested to read, as well as ourselves here in the library services. I'm going to hand you over to Gethin White now, our HC librarian based here in Dr. Stephen's library with myself. Gethin is going to tell you about the evidence service that we offer and how you can keep up to date in your research and practice. Thank you, Gethin.
Thanks, Aoife. No, and it's great to be here today. It's very interesting listening to that contribution there. We see it in the evidence service in terms of the type of inquiries coming through. They would very much match up with the graphic there that Lorna was just showing us. Now, I'm going to try and do a mixture this morning of a few PowerPoint slides and of some hopefully going into the live HSE library website as well, just to give you a little bit of a fresher feel to something. So bear with me while I'll start sharing initially my PowerPoint slides. Hopefully, is that coming through okay?
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Gethin.
Yeah, no, unfortunately that slide is what it is. So you'll allow me one little indulgence at the start. It just occurred to me when I was preparing for this presentation that we've heard from Aoife and from some of the nursing strategy and research people, and we're hearing from the suppliers after myself. So I'm sort of the bit in the middle, and for anybody under the age of 50, they'll wonder who that person is. He was a disc jockey who used to produce a show called the Bit in the Middle, and I would never wear a shirt like that, or I never had hair like that, but it just struck in my mind. So it will improve after that point. So what are we trying to achieve with this presentation? Well, hopefully it will continue through from what the earlier speakers have said in terms of some of the pieces that we can take you through and guide through the library services. I think what the setup of this session does afford me to do, because you will hear from our suppliers. Geraldine was talking about, and Georgina were talking about, navigating through the research. And what I'll be trying to do in this short session is navigate you through the services that we offer to complement what the databases that our suppliers will be talking to you about. So I can sort of join the dots and show where the library service can add value. And as a final piece, a few just suggestions and tips and tricks as to how you can improve your use of resources. So hopefully it'll be useful for you. I don't know how well you can see this on the screen here. It's a graphic from my colleague Brendan Lean from the evidence team. So in short, this is what the HSE Library Evidence Service is attempting to deliver. So it's primarily a literature searching service. And earlier speakers have talked about the importance of evidence-based information. And you may be aware I'm not going to keep referencing COVID. Hopefully this will be the only reference to COVID. But during the COVID period, we produced for the first time what we called evidence summaries, which were, detailed pieces of sort of briefing really around the available research that was certainly employed by health staff, utilised by health staff throughout the service. So, we accept questions from all ranges relating to patient care, service design. People have referenced the policies, procedures and protocols and audit and so on, and we certainly do get questions in that area as well. There's a note there saying we don't accept requests relating to personal academic study. That doesn't mean to say that there are plenty of pieces of work, research work that have been referenced that sort of straddle that area. So it's, we'll certainly look at whatever comes through to us, and I'll talk to you more about that in a moment. This graphic is quite a nice one. So really it's just an acknowledgement of the different types of requests that come through. So on the one hand, the relatively quick turnaround, 2 to 3 working days a few references on a particular topic. You'll hear later on from BMJ Best Practice and UpToDate, and basically the idea is they're what's called point of care tools, so you can find a quick but high quality evidence-based answer to some of the questions that come through, and the library service can turn that around for you. Moving on from that, you have a slightly more advanced search, which involves the interrogating of at least one database. Then probably the third option is probably our most used, which is a pretty exhaustive search of multiple databases on a 5-day turnaround time. I think statistically that's the most requested. And then finally, I have mentioned COVID again, but you know, the evidence summaries, which are quite big pieces of work where a number of librarians come together to detail that. Now, to this point, it's been mainly COVID work. This is beginning to change. Myself and my colleague Brendan Lean are working on a piece of work on unscheduled care for some senior staff here. So, you know, I think that's the way forward on that. And I think all staff will benefit from seeing that work when it's produced. I don't know how well you can see this. I was looking at this yesterday. Aoife produced an annual report at the tail end of last year, and you know, nursing consistently would be our main sort of subject area for requesters for the evidence service, and you know, I think it's almost double the next category, and you know, and that reflects you know, I think an acknowledgement that we're here on the one hand. It's a fact that they're looking for the high quality evidence-based research and making decisions. And I probably could have pulled out this graphic from previous years, and it wouldn't have been too dissimilar to that. So you know, that's a good thing. And you know, nursing staff have been a prime mover in terms of supporting the work that we do, and it's really good to have this session this morning. And what I would remember, I've just got a little slide here. This is more really for reference. That you're probably aware of. This is a means of creating a search question, PICO, which actually came out of the nursing literature, and we'll start to employ that in some of the live searches that we do. There are also a couple of other sort of formulas that can be used there, which you can look on that journal article there at the bottom, which might be useful. I was actually thinking coming into this session that back in 2009, I was fortunate enough to attend an evidence-based research session in Waterford, which really was set up at the behest of the nursing department there, a lady called Miriam Bell, who I'm sure you know well. And it really was a turning of the corner in terms of the work that was done, and I saw Dr. Vanessa Clark mentioned on that earlier slide there, and there've been a number of people who've picked up the baton of the evidence-based research, and you know, really supported the library service throughout. So it's brilliant to come together. Although nurses appear at the top of that chart that we were showing for queries received, there's been a significant change over time. I mean, the research queries we get from nursing are very detailed, difficult ones that, you know, really are things that we want to be receiving in terms of what we can add for value-added research, because users are looking after the more basic requests themselves, and there's been a huge progression in terms of the nursing area in that regard. So, you know, all these things do tally in together in terms of what the earlier speakers have said and what we've experienced ourselves in the library service. I'm going to deviate at this point. I'm going to stop. Now, these slides will all be there to be distributed at the end. So, but I'm going to try and deviate from PowerPoint for a moment and go into our live site. So I'll cross my fingers and hope for the best. I'm just going to stop sharing this, and just bear with me one moment. Okay. Now, hopefully this will come through. Now, is that okay? Is that coming through?
That's come through. Thanks, Gethin.
Okay. Right. It's there, is it? Okay.
It's gone.
Yeah. So okay, let me try again. I probably hit something I shouldn't have done. Hold on one moment. Sorry. Right. Okay.
back again. Thanks.
Yep. Okay, brilliant. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is our HSE library website, which is the sort of the main forum for where our accesses, our resources can be accessed, and some of the things that you'll hear our suppliers talking about. So I thought it would be a good idea to just take you through some of the live examples, as opposed to just me talking via a PowerPoint slide. So this, what I'm going to demonstrate really are actual requests that have come through from our service to our evidence service. Sometimes a criticism is made in training sessions that you get manicured examples that bear no relation to people's experience in the patient forum and so on. So I'm just going to pick up and show you some things that have actually come through. And so they sort of vary in complexity as well, which will just give you a bit of a flavour of what we've got. So what I'm going to, so most of our, now there are various ways of accessing things, but if we go into resources and we go into the A to Z of online resources, and I'm just going to show you the CINAHL database briefly. And Richard Crooks from EBSCO, who produce CINAHL, will be here later in the morning, and Richard is an expert searcher, so I'm only going to very gently demonstrate a couple of things here. If it stays slow, I may turn my camera off just to see if that will speed things up a little bit here. The familiar death rattle there of it is trying to do something. Let me just have a look. Here we go. Bingo. Okay, you can all see that screen, can't you?
Yes.
Can you all see the screen? Yeah. Okay, so the fact we're looking at the CINAHL database, really a lot of the functionality, once people get past the actual interface looking different in the different resources we go into, there's an awful lot of similarity. So you can see, and apologies, I may be preaching to the converted here, you've got what are called Boolean operators. So you see this if you go into Google, if you go into almost any resource, and we'll talk about those in a moment. So CINAHL is obviously a database that nursing is the central kind of cornerstone of the content, nursing and allied health on there. So I had a question here: how effective are nurses in implementing patient navigation programs in oncology? So if we looked at our PICO, so PICO, the P stands for patient or population. So in this case, it's patients suffering from cancer. The intervention in this case is patient navigation programs. There isn't a comparison, and then the outcomes. In this case, are they successful, these programs, in reducing hospital admissions, adherence to medical treatment, identification of specific supports? So I'm just going to run, and they're deliberately relatively basic searches, but just to give you an idea of the databases. Now, I appreciate people may be coming in at different access points. So depending on that, you see there's just above this search box here, there's a little another box saying suggest subject terms. Sometimes that's clicked, sometimes it isn't. And what that will do, if I type in the term patient navigator, if I can spell would actually help. What that will do, it will look for the term or the phrase as a keyword search, but it will also try and see if it can find it as what's called a subject term. So whenever we're, as librarians, discussing the most effective way of searching, we're asking people to consider alternatives to search terms. So, for example, a patient navigator might be a patient advocate. It might be known as, by a few things. So, but what the clicking suggest subject terms does, it caters for that eventuality of the either or in the index term. So, I will demonstrate that. I'll search for this. It's always not easy when I stop talking. So rather than patient navigator, the official term here in the thesaurus is patient navigation. And if you want a little confirmation of what that stands for, on the right there's a scope note there which just confirms the importance of this. Is the person who's indexed the term on the database, this is what they understand that term to mean. So it may seem like an obvious piece, but it's important that you just double check that. So alongside the term patient navigation, you can see you have the option to explode or major concept. All that means is if you explode you go from the parent level term, you drill down through kind of sub layers under the term. In this case, patient navigation, there isn't, it's grayed out. So we have to go for the top level term. And what that does is when you click that, it opens up a whole series of subheadings. So it's saying, look, you're looking at patient navigation, but you may be specifically interested, for example, in standards, or you may be interested in economics and so on. You're under no obligation to take any of them. You can just click the top level term, and you might see on the very bottom left here, you can still retain the option to search for the term patient navigator, which was my original input term as a keyword. And I'm going to select that, and you can see here on the right. So there they are, the subject term and the key free text term that I put in there. So, and at the very bottom is our old friend, the Boolean operators. So Boolean operators, and apologies because I'm sure this is, as I said, preaching to the converted, they look innocuous enough, the word and or, but they're very important means of, if you use the or term, it literally is either or, so patient navigation or patient navigator. So typically you'll be grouping your concepts together by saying either or, and then ultimately, and we'll show this in a moment, when you come to the end of the search, you land all your various couplings together and hopefully find the search results that you want. So I'm going to or at the moment because I'm happy for either or of those to appear, and I search the database, and you can see, so I've got 1,497, and people, sometimes they jump up in the air and say, oh no, what am I going to do here now? And that's way too many. It's actually not that many for just for a first term to be input. So the other part of my question, so that was my patient navigation programs. I'm looking in oncology. I'm not sure if patient navigation programs are solely based in oncology departments. So what I can do now is to put in the word, and again, I'll suggest my subject term, and I'll search for oncology. See what I get here. So there it is. Oncology is oncology. At this time, I do have an explode option, so you can see it will drill down. I also, what it will do, it tries to find the closest available match. So I have a look at that and think, cancer patients, yeah, that might be useful as well. So I'll click that one. And what else have I got in here? Okay. Yeah, oncology nursing, that also may be some value, so I'll take that one, possibly the bottom one there, and I can also still search again for my keywords. So when I scroll over onto the right, there's a kind of compilation of everything I've asked for, and again I'll stick to the or. It defaults to or, and I'll search for that. Okay, so this is, if you can see the couplings there. There's my oncology coupling. There's my patient navigation one. So the last piece in the jigsaw, if you like, is the actual nursing piece. So I can put in, and I can just show you a little variation here. So I've got, I'm the original one-fingered typist, so apologies for here. So what I've done here, the nurse, and I've got, I don't know how well you can see that, there's a little, it's like a snowflake, little star after the S, and that will pick up, it's what's called truncating the term. So you'll pick up nurses, nursing, possible different stem endings to the word. So I'm just going to try that. I can still put the search subject terms in again, and okay, so it's telling me for the term nurse, use nurses. Okay, and there's various other options in here. So I'm going to click that, and I'll click nurses. Okay, and now you can drill down to particular specialities within nursing. What I would suggest you do is basically just stick with the top level term, because what you will find is, you can see it, we started off at, what was it, 1,400 or something on the patient navigator. It's not that many. By the time you've put in your various couplings together, it will soon reduce. So I'll just search for that. And okay, so you can see there, obviously, not unsurprisingly, that's my biggest haul. You can see in the brackets there. And so my next piece is, and as I said, this is typical of what you'd see on most of the databases, whether it be CINAHL, or we've got ProQuest, we've got Embase later. They all will employ Boolean operators and the rows, and the same idea. So this time I'm going to click them all. So the S just stands for set, effectively, or search number. And this time, rather than ORing them, we're adding them together because we want to find all articles that have all three of those variations in there. So nursing, oncology, and patient navigation. And I know that even though I've got a huge return here into nursing, it's got to match up. The most I can possibly get is 1,500, and that's with every single one matching the patient navigation. So I'm going to put them together. This is where you get naught or something. So immediately down to 344. Okay, so I can have a quick look there and view my results. Okay, so hopefully you can. And the other thing to start looking at here is we're into the territory of what they call limiters. So you can see that goes back from 2006 to date. So typically maybe people are looking at the last 5 years. So I can, you know, I can limit that on the. So that pulls it down to 234. Okay, so you can also you can have a look here and you can edit the result, and you can see. So this is where we get our menu of what they call limiters, and you can look at this one here, for example, called publication type. So you might say, right, going back to what some of the speakers were saying earlier on, I'm interested in seeing if there's a systematic review on this area. You know, if I could find a systematic review, you know, one of the highest level of evidence, that would really be brilliant. So I'll put that one in there and see if. Okay, so 8. There you go. Now it illustrates that you want to be quite sparing in your use of limiters, because you will dramatically jump from a very broad sweep into a very specific piece. But you can see this one here looks potentially interesting. So, and it depends what you're looking for in terms of piece of work. Going back to what we showed you in terms of the graphic, and do you need something for a quick answer? Are you doing a journal club? Maybe do you just need a handful of articles? Are you doing a systematic review yourself, or a more in-depth piece of work as to what you want to get out of it? But you can see here, you remember we clicked the suggest subject boxes. So you have ones. There's patient navigation. There's oncology, nursing. Sometimes what you will find with some searches, having done an initial search, and I would do loads of searches before I'd settle on my final piece. There's a lot of experimentation. You'll find subjects that you hadn't maybe considered, and you can go back and repurpose them into your search. So there's a lot of information in there that's very useful. And if we just go back to the search history there, so if you're happy enough with what you've done and you want to. What some people will do is look for a recurring search. They'll say, look, I'm following patient navigation programs over a period of time. I've worked with a librarian on here. I'm happy for this search. So I'd like essentially for the search to repeat. Okay, so what you need to do then is to, first of all, to access the resource, you need to have what's called an Athens passport. But having got into the database, you then sign up for your own. If this will play ball, if it won't, you're going to just have to take my word for it. By signing in to the resource, what you can do is effectively save your search and save it as an alert to repeat on whatever frequency basis that you decide, whether it be a week, a day, a month, a year. It's a little bit slow on there, so I don't want to get caught for too long on this. We might come back to this. So what you would do, you just have to, you would tick all of the boxes of the search history, and you'd save the search here as an alert, and you have to take my word for it at the moment. Be logged in, and then you just give it, give the search a name of something that, so patient navigation or something that you look at, and then you can come back to it and keep using it. The other thing you can do by signing in is you will be able to, we should be able to show you this even without signing in, or at least you'll be able to understand the concept of it. You can see at the very bottom here, so you have a number of things. You have the actual PDF, the full text of that particular article, but you don't have the full text on these articles here. I think this was the one I was looking at. So, but you could be still interested in the paper, so you can then export that what's called a reference management tool. So you may have heard of EndNote, or I use Zotero there, there's Mendeley, and it's just basically means of building your bibliography, putting your reference that you've gained into one source. That's probably the advantage. It's a separate session using reference management tools, but it's probably the advantage of using them is that you can put all of your references into one source rather than having 20 on CINAHL or 20 on ProQuest or 20 on some of the other databases. You can just package them all. The advantage of signing in on here is that you can save the search, and that's pretty useful to do on that. So I'm just gonna it's always amazing when you're looking at time, you think, oh, I've loads of time, I can show them all these things. I just want to at least get a couple of examples through as I'm dotting through this. And as Aoife mentioned at the start, I'm happy to take questions via the chat later on. I'll be around for the whole session. I'm going to use, I'll stick with this database to try and save a little bit of time. This is actually an EBSCO example anyway, so I've shamelessly stolen this from their literature. This is more of a typical kind of clinical question. In patients undergoing abdominal surgery, is there evidence to suggest that chewing gum post-operatively compared with not chewing gum post-operatively affects post-operative ileus? So in this case, the patient's population would be patients undergoing abdominal surgery. The intervention is chewing gum post-operatively compared to not chewing gum post-operatively. And the outcome is, how does that affect the post-operative ileus? So we build our search around those terms, and I'm frantically scrambling for paper here. So on this occasion, we won't use the suggest subject terms, we'll just purely use the field term. So this is really geared up for your keyword search. So you see you've got a whole myriad of options on here. If you want to, you can just use the all text, which will search all through the text. The idea of searching the abstract would be simply that hopefully, it's more likely to be of interest if something appears in the abstract of an article. So that's, kind of your own call as you go along, and it will depend on the subject area that you're looking at as well. So abdominal surgery, and you can see there's nothing to stop me putting the Boolean operators. I'm not just confined to using these drop-down boxes here. I can also collapse it into one box. What you do find is if you get to sort of half a dozen terms, you can see the box is filling up here. It can just be a little hard to actually look at on the screen. And personally, I find it easier to look at a drop-down thing, but everyone is different. So I can search for that. And keep in mind as well that work away on that. Keep in mind, until you can see here when I look at my search history, I still retain the limitations from my previous search. So I still have that date range, that's okay, but I still have a systematic review, which may mean I might not be wanting to look at that. So I could go in to edit there, and I could go into publication type and just take that off, just to save. So you can see that's gone there now. So that's the first piece of it. That's my patients undergoing abdominal surgery. They're my population. Chewing gum, so that's an easy enough one. Chewing gum, and I can just put in gum. It may just be referred to as gum rather than chewing gum, and search for that. At least it is moving there. So you go, oh, it still has actually retained that there. So take that off again. You can see how. Let's have a look. Okay. Yeah, look at the difference that makes. And then the final piece, post-operative ileus. So I'm going to try on here. Just post-operative now. Do you do that as one word, or you could try? And here's another. I know this from an earlier search, and this is where. Okay, can I? Yeah. which again, so I have to take that off each time, which is a bit annoying on this. Okay. And now I'm going to do exactly what I did on the previous piece, and I'm going to pull these sets together. So there's my search 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and just see what I get. Nothing probably. Okay, 30. So there you go. The difference being there, you've got a very specific question, and I think this is going back to what I was saying at the very beginning there. It can be quite hard for people. You know, they don't always have such a well honed example. They're often, when people come with questions, they don't have more fact-finding expeditions. The value of converting something into a question, and so on. And as you can see, the same thing again. Take your article, you could export it, and so you have quite a degree of functionality. I'm just going to see whether I could squeeze in one more search, because at the end of the day, that's the sort of the bread and butter of what we do. If I don't, I can. This is on the slides anyway, but this was a far harder search here. What information is recorded in the nursing assessment of a paediatric patient? So I think just to even take you through that. So, okay, the paediatric patient, that will be, the subject term for that will be a child. It will be paediatric with the 2 spellings, the American one, or you could. Nursing assessment could be, you know, you might have to try and represent that in a number of ways. So you could have nursing assessment, clinical assessment tools, patient assessment tools. You know, it's quite a bit of work involved in actually you know, narrowing that down to what you're looking for. And similarly, when you get to you know, admissions, you could have you could put in admission as a keyword. You could truncate it. You can have nursing assessment. But what you do find on most of these resources, if you have a clinical term like neoplasm or any of the clinical conditions, it's very clear cut as to what they are. When you come away from you have to do more work in keywords in terms of finding things, because they're more subject to being open-ended. So that will you know, complicate your search slightly. So I'm just going to quickly move on and show you, because as I said at the beginning, that I would like to just I've got plenty of slides that you can look back on, which will give you some search tips in terms of working through pieces. But I would also like to just try and impart a couple of suggestions that I've got along the way. So I'm just going to stop sharing the live site, okay, and just go back to the PowerPoint just for a minute. Okay, where did I get to? Okay, so I'll just forward through some of these, so you can see a lot of what I was talking about here, the Boolean operators, bit of information about that, some examples of truncation, which we did the nursing one on there, and then a few other little examples here. Again, as I said at the start, these are things that are applicable to many of the different databases. So that's very clear. That's a nice one actually at the very bottom that we didn't do, and the parenthesis. So you can put in a term like lung cancer or lung neoplasms, put it into a bracket, and then and it. And so you can do that as a keyword search, but you can you know, have quite a powerful search doing that. So as I said, ultimately you will be ORing terms together, you'll and them together, and hopefully you'll find your best result. And so just, as I said, use the limits with care, because you know, you can see the dramatic effect that they have in terms of your search results, and some of them possibly. A good example of this is people understandably often tack on the full text, which is one of the limiters on there, and that immediately will only pull back articles that we subscribe to within CINAHL, for example, in this case. And it may be that the most relevant reference is something that we just don't have the full text there. You may be able to access it from another database that we hold, or you may be able to get it via our interlibrary loan service. So be very careful and sparing in terms of your use of limiters. I'll just forward through this because it was, so what I've got here, horses for courses, different resources of different strengths. And when I was thinking about this session, really, I think as librarians, that's what we can best offer you, is really our decision making around where to go. Every single supplier will come on and show you their resource in the second half of the morning, and they're all very good, high quality, evidence-based resources. The question is, which is the most appropriate one for the particular search you have? And I suppose that's where our experience of doing this is very useful. I often say to requesters, you know, you have the subject knowledge, we have the knowledge of the resources, and if we can kind of merge that together, hopefully we'll have the optimum search. So so different things work in different circumstances. I'll just put this in as a very basic division. Periodically we try on our website to think, you know, can we send people into a particular resource for things, and it's quite hard. But if you're looking for a guideline, for example, which nurses staff often are looking for a guideline, UpToDate is a very strong one. You'll pick things out, the grey literature from particular standalone societies. There's the Royal Marsden, which we have access to. There's the TRIP database. Now, Richard may say something differently when he comes on, but in terms of CINAHL being a very strong nursing database overall. However, a lot of the databases aren't particularly strong for guidelines, for example. So what you'll do is you'll find a lot of high quality content around a search question, but not necessarily a guideline. And the grey literature, you know, I make no bones about it. We're having an evidence-based session here, but something like Google Scholar, for example, I mean, the algorithms on there are very, very smart, and so you'll find when you go into Google Scholar and you'll see, you may go in with a particular reference and look something up, and you'll see a little link at the bottom saying, you know, kind of like try these advanced citation. And those algorithms are very good. And there was a recent piece of research done that said over half of the references that are found on the systematic review are a result of that kind of snowballing, where you go from coming in with a core reference. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, because as long as the evidence is still high around the reference, how you find them is not the be all and end all. So, and Google Scholar uses Boolean technology in the same way that the database, like CINAHL and the other databases do. We also have Lenus, which is our in-house repository for HSE and other Irish publications, and there's a couple others in there called Core and Base, which are strong for grey literature. So as I said, sort of a thinking really about an approach. What is the strength or weakness of an individual resource I'm going to use? When we're looking on CINAHL there, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a publications tab. It may be that you run the most perfect search question ever, but you can't find what you need simply because the particular publication, such as the Journal of Advanced Nursing and so on, actually isn't held on that database. So have a look, go into the publications tab and see, you know, if it's there. Yeah, how well are the articles indexed? This is a librarian piece. It probably isn't of great interest to some staff, but we were looking at scope notes when we were going through the search, and sometimes inevitably there's a time lag before what they call index terms are attached to an article. So again, even though you do a subject search, it may not appear simply because the subject terms haven't been added to that article yet. So ironically enough, your free text search is more likely on occasion to pick up some of the literature, which is why we always say do a subject search and a free text search. And again, as I mentioned there, how well is the grey literature covered? Many databases do not cover grey literature, such as guidelines and policy documents. And I know from what Geraldine was saying earlier on about the PPPG stuff, obviously, you know, that is a big part of the work that goes in through the nursing departments. Be careful if you are using Google Scholar. It is a very useful resource, but the accuracy rate, I think, on a Google Scholar search is about 16%. And people will turn around and say, well, I found what I wanted on there. And that's because, you know, maybe the first half dozen results will be very good, and then it tails off. And that's the difference really with when you're searching, you know, CINAHL or one of the other, or Embase or one of the other databases. You're in a pool of good, high quality evidence-based material, and that's the difference. That's where the Google Scholar piece will tail off in terms of less relevant stuff as you go through. Also operates on a ranking system. Some stuff is sponsored and has a higher link, and it may not necessarily be the most high quality reference. Predatory journals, my colleague Padraig, who looks after Leonard's, would tell you about this. Obviously, a lot of stuff, if you just do a Google search and you pull back an article and it's there in its entirety, you think, happy days. And open access is a brilliant movement whereby you can access your research, and it's what academics who produce the research want. However, unfortunately, as with everything else, there's always when somebody comes up with something good, there's always an alternative, not so good approach, and there's a thing called predatory journals. So these journals where there is no real evidence base. It could be you or I in our own attic, and they look to all intents and purposes like the real thing, but it's a bit of a sham, and there isn't an attempt being made to reference some of those titles, and you'd be surprised at the ones that actually fall into that category. And again, grey literature is very variable in quality, so check the source before using. The last piece of I'm just going to have time, hopefully. The session was listed as being keeping up to date as well. So I just want to quickly show you a couple of pieces. I'm part, as well as being part of the evidence team, I'm part of a team called Knowledge Support, and we produce what we call research bulletins. So I'll stop here and go back to the live site if I can find it. Let me just have a see if I can. Okay, yeah, and agency library. Can you see that? Okay, is that yeah?
Yeah, thanks, Gethin.
Yeah, so you can, so what I've showed you so far in terms of the evidence side, so really if you go under the services tab, you can see this is how you can request an evidence search, and you can request training and various other sources. If we go into resources, you can see there's a piece here called research bulletins, and what that is really, and it's worth mentioning it because it's certainly relevant to nursing. If you submit an evidence search, obviously you've got a very specific question, and the librarian will go away and answer the question. However, we do also produce sort of monthly, quarterly, what we call research bulletins, which are snapshots of the latest high quality research in areas. So we have one that we've just produced for nursing and midwifery. This is where we house it. It's so up to date, it may not actually be put up there yet. We also have one here, a quality improvement bulletin. There's one on sexual assault. There's one called the Big Four, which is a quick summary of the main medical journals. This is an increasing area that we're really trying to develop, and the selling point of this is it's curated librarian content. So we've gone out to try and find the latest high quality evidence reviews within particular areas, and you can, once you come into this page from the front page, you can sign up to any of these alerts. We also, if you're just interested purely in getting table of contents alerts, we also have a product called Read QXMD, which you can also use. So really, sometimes people misunderstand what this is about. They sort of say, well, I didn't find what I was looking for. It's only designed to be a very quick, brief kind of guide to the latest high quality literature. What we tend to find happens is, though, people, once they've used this service, then they link in with the evidence service, and we're trying to build the synergies between the various tools that we offer and the various services that we offer. So I think that's quite a useful thing to demonstrate. Just a couple more things as well. If I could just, I know that the clock is against me a little bit here, but one thing that is quite a recent innovation that might be useful, again, under resources and into the A to Z of online resources. I've been talking today about individual standalone databases. However, we do have what's called a federated search engine, a federated search. And what that is, basically, it provides the opportunity to search across all of our database resources, in fact, all of our resources full stop, with one single search. And I'm giving it the big wind up here, and I'm hoping to see some color on the screen. It's also an EBSCO product, as is CINAHL. So So I just ran a quick dummy search there, and you can see.
We're not seeing it, Gethin, we're just seeing the knowledge support page.
Okay. Oh yes, I'm sorry. Let me stop that and start. Okay, sorry. I'm ahead of myself there. Just I was just one. Okay, this should be all right. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. Am I back in the? Am I back in? Can you see the?
We're just waiting for it to come through.
Very good. Nothing. No.
It says it's starting to share content. Just
Okay. Well, I'm giving it a great wind up anyway. Just if it doesn't come through here, because I know I'm pretty much at the end of my time. If you go into the resources tab, which is where all of our main resources are kept, as I said, it's called a federated search engine, and you can search across all of our resources in one search. What that does mean is that you will obviously retrieve a lot more information, because you may be searching a dozen databases as opposed to a single one. But you can then drill down with limiters. It saves you having to go through every single database, and it's very popular with users because of that, because it now has a lot more functionality. It's produced by EBSCO, so it mirrors a lot of the functionality used in. It doesn't seem to be playing ball for me there, Aoife. I might just stop because I'm quite close to the end line anyway. But hopefully, so the things that we demonstrated on CINAHL are exactly the same things that you can use in the federated search engine. You can filter content down, you can save alerts, you can run a search using Boolean operators. So apologies for all the talking. You think you have plenty of time, and what you have to remember with these pieces, they're often half-day sessions, and if anybody is interested in talking to me, I will let you get a word in edgeways. Send an email through, and we can talk about a particular question. We have the evidence service where you can post a question, and I hope you'll use. We have a training resources that you can book an appointment with. So there's plenty of access points for you into the service, and I'm really glad to be here today. And I'm quite energized by hearing from you all. And look, thanks very much for listening to me. And hope you enjoy the rest of the session.
thanks so much, Gethin. I think that was a very informative session. I think everybody will learn something from it. You know from listening to Gethin that he's really an expert in our service and has been with us has built up his skills over many years, and him and other people in our service have a lot of expertise with this. So please engage with our librarians across the HSE, because they will help you in your quest for research. We did have one or two questions, Gethin. There's a bit of an interest in PubMed, no surprise there,
Okay.
and in demonstrating PubMed. I know we don't have time to show that today, but I would encourage nurses and midwives to familiarise yourselves a little bit with our website, hselibrary.ie. There is an information skills team, and they provide training. They have a training calendar and different resources which you can book into. It's online mostly, but you can also, avail of one-to-one training with your local librarian, depending on where you're based. And in terms,
can I just cut across one moment, and I appreciate the clock is against us here, but it's a fine question about PubMed, and PubMed is the biggest freely available health resource in the world. We do have a database, and I haven't shown today, called Medline, EBSCO Medline. PubMed is made up of about 80% of Medline. So the advantage of using our in-house, sorry, not our in-house, but of using the EBSCO database, is that we supplement the PubMed content with more full text content that we purchase as part of the subscription. So the functionality is very similar in terms of Boolean operators and so on. But it's just to bear in mind.
thanks very much, Gethin. And we're supposed to take a little break now, so if we could come back at 10:35, and then we'll resume our session with hearing from a couple of the publishers. But in case I lose any of our panelists, and I hope you're all able to stay with us for the morning, I would like to extend my thanks to Georgina, Bassett, Dr. Ger Shaw, Maureen Nolan, Lorna Peelo-Kilroe, and my own staff, Gethin White, Anne Kearns, and Laura Rooney-Ferris, for their assistance with this. So thanks everyone, and we'll be back at 10:35. Thank you. And good morning, Jazz. Are you ready to begin sharing your screen?
Hi everyone. Yes, I'm Jazz. I'm from MA Healthcare, which is part of the Mark Allen Group. And I'll just quickly start sharing my screen now. Okay, that's all working, I guess?
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm from MA Healthcare, and the HSE has a subscription to all of our healthcare journals under the MAH Complete collection. So at MA Healthcare, we're primarily a professional publisher, focusing on primarily nursing, but we do have a few other journals within midwifery and allied health. And the focus very much on what we do at MA Healthcare is really producing high quality and accessible content for healthcare professionals. So it's not just about clinical research. So the vast majority of our titles are peer reviewed, but we do have a very special focus on supporting nurses, midwives, physiotherapists at every level of their career. So our journals do very much have the clinical content, but there's also a lot of content relating to professional and educational issues. So there's a variety of content that's very useful to health professionals at all levels, and it's very popular content as well. So, for example, within the NHS, we do get very high usage predominantly for our professional content, which we find, especially within nursing, it's very helpful in terms of getting nurses to be reading content on a daily basis. So the subscription that the HSE has is really to all of our healthcare titles. So within MAH Complete, you have access to 17 nursing journals, which includes the British Journal of Nursing, Journal of Wound Care, Journal of Prescribing Practice, International Journal of Palliative Nursing. There's also access to 2 midwifery titles, which includes the British Journal of Midwifery. You also have access to, now there's 8 titles within allied health or non-nursing areas, which includes Journal of Paramedic Practice, and a new title we just launched in January, which I'll talk about in a bit, called International Journal for Advancing Practice. So you can access all of the content via your Open Athens login. The majority of our titles are indexed in CINAHL, so you should be able to find all of the key titles within CINAHL searches, and there should be full linking back to our platform, which you can see here, which is the Mag Online Library. We do have, I think, about 5 titles indexed in Medline. But otherwise, you should be able to access all of the content you subscribe to via your library discovery system. I'll just give you a quick overview of the platform. I mean, in most cases, users will be coming straight to the article page via either your library discovery service, Google Scholar, or via CINAHL search. But if you do come to the MH Complete collection directly on our platform, which is magonlinelibrary.com, you'll come to this page and you'll see here that we usually highlight editors' picks of articles, some recent open access articles. You can browse all of the journals that are available to you here. We've got links to the journals also at the top as well. Again, we've got most read and most cited articles, and I'll just show you a quick look at the individual journal pages. So, for example, the British Journal of Nursing, this is the landing page where, again, you'll see a selection of latest articles, open access articles, most read and most cited. You do have access to all of the back files as well. So you'll see there's a link to the current issue, and then next to that is a link to the complete archive as well. And so for the British Journal of Nursing, it will go back to 1992. I'll show you quickly, and with the articles, there's free, there's for authorised users, there's, of course, we have, you're able to print and download content for your personal use and also share content for educational purposes as well. I'll show you quickly a new title that we have launched, which is an international journal for advancing practice. So this is quite a, we launched this in January last year with some funding from Health Education England, which is part of the NHS. And we had been producing a lot of content within the British Journal of Nursing for advanced practitioners in nursing. And that was very popular content across all our NHS subscribers. And as is probably happening within the HSE, there's also there's a case of advanced practitioners, that sector growing within other areas in healthcare. So, for example, within midwifery, paramedics and physiotherapy. So we essentially worked with Health Education England to create a separate journal that would focus specifically on advanced practice within those areas. So not just nursing, but within other non-medical roles as well. So this title is now included within your MAH Complete subscription. And we launched the first half issue in January, and the next full issue will be appearing next month in April. So just a few other things that you might be interested in. When you come to our platform, the Mageline Library, you'll see there's a link here, information menu, and there's a link down in the drop-down menu called For Librarians. If you click on here, you'll find some useful information in terms of access, technical or access queries that you might have. But we also have here some links that could be useful in terms of promoting the content or making your users aware of the content that's available to them. So, for example, we have a link here on the left to promotional materials. So if you want to download any flyers or anything, flyers for the collection or for individual titles, you can just download them here or contact us at institutions@markallengroup.com if you would like anything bespoke specifically for your HSE libraries, or if you would like something specific, you know, other types of wording you would like, or a particular focus on a journal or a topic. And we can create these for you. So you're very welcome to let us know what you might like in terms of your local promotions. We also have what's very useful here on the left is underneath promotional materials is a link to our monthly bulletins that we do. So we do send these out to HSE already, but you can sign up directly with us if you would like them emailed to you. So you can do this at institutions@markallengroup.com. So essentially every month we focus on a particular topic or clinical area, and we select the latest and most relevant articles from across all the titles within MAH Complete, which you have subscription to, and we put them all together in a Word document, and we send that out to our list. So for example, here is one that we did for February on mental health. So you'll see here on the right-hand side, you've got the download resources button. So you can click on this and you will download the Word document that we put together, which has all the latest articles, research and professional articles about mental health. But then what we've done here on the page is we've put in a live feed for articles relating to this particular topic or clinical area as well. So you can have access to both the Word document, which is a more curated piece of material, and you have access to the latest articles as well. So if you want to add any more articles to what you're doing, you can just take these from the live feed. We are building a taxonomy very soon to the Mageline Library, so we're going to be doing a lot more in terms of current content for more granular topics, which we hope to incorporate into our bulletins, but also for users also to sign up to topic specific notifications as well. So hopefully there'll be a lot more going on the promotional side of things to support usage across HSE. But if you do have any particular requests, you're very welcome to get in touch with me directly or via institutions@markallengroup.com, and we'd be very happy to help. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jazz. Thanks for sticking to the time as well.
No problem.
Introduce you next to Rachel Wilkinson from Wiley. Rachel's going to show you the Royal Marsden Manual of Clinical Procedures and the collection of electronic journals that we subscribe through Wiley. Thank you, Rachel.
Hello everyone. So for those of you that haven't met me, my name is Rachel Wilkinson. I'm the Senior Account Manager here at Wiley, and today, as Aoife kindly introduced me, I'm going to talk about the Royal Marsden. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully it will go smoothly. And I've got a few slides, but what I'm going to do is just give you a bit of an overview of the Royal Marsden, why it's so important, and then hopefully maybe just a sort of minute or two demo, and then we'll finish off with our medical and nursing journal collection. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that's all okay. Okay, so what is the Royal Marsden Manual? It's been published for over 30 years and it's considered the sort of gold standard nursing Bible. Nurses refer to it daily, and it started off as a product here in England, but now it is actually a global product. So I think that shows you the importance, and how well it is actually used. So essentially, what is it? It's a manual containing over 350 evidence-based procedures. And that can range anything from something as simple as just washing your hands, obviously, or inserting a chest drain. And what it does is it gives you simple step-by-step instructions on what you need to do, if there's any medication, and things like that. So what we actually have a print edition of the manual, and that's in two versions. So we've got the professional edition, which is for that fully qualified nurse, and we have the student edition, and content's almost identical, but our student edition has those sort of extra tests, to help them with the learning process. But what you actually have a subscription to is our online edition. Now, this is very popular. We've got national provisions across Europe. This actually combines both editions, so it's suitable from the nurse whilst they're learning right up until they're fully qualified on the wards. So at the moment, who actually subscribes to the online edition? Obviously, we've got national provisions in England, Wales, HSE, but again, Europe, and actually further afield. So we've got lots of subscriptions in places like Singapore and the Middle East. So I think that really shows you the importance and how well it's thought of. We also have a lot of medical schools with access, again, touching on that student nurse, that they're learning and developing, and then that Royal Marsden really does become sort of part of their everyday role. So when they're fully qualified on the wards, totally familiar with it, and it's in their workflow. We've also got lots of private healthcare groups, and then in the last few years we've actually seen sort of care homes and hospices, and I think it says that anybody with a nursing role actually needs access to this manual. What we introduced for the 10th edition was the cancer procedures. This is included in part of your online subscription. You'll find them, I think it's the last 5 chapters, and it really shows you sort of some of the cancer procedures, and as I say, it's a really nice extra addition for your subscription. It's mobile optimized, so you can get access on the go. You can access the Royal Marsden on your mobile device, on your laptop, on your iPad. And what it does, because it is mobile optimized, it shrinks to the size of your device, and none of this sort of scrolling left and right trying to see all of the content on your screen. There is no app at the moment. We are looking into it. The only reason we haven't actually done an app until now is The Royal Marsden is a huge manual, and I think it would probably be a huge app on your phone. So we're really trying to condense that content and see how that can work with an app. So watch this space, hopefully for the 11th edition. This is just a screenshot of what the main homepage looks like. We've tried to keep it simple, very easy to use. Nurses are busy people. They don't want to be navigating a complicated website. So we've gone for that sort of clean look, and we just want you to be able to access the content that you need. Many ways for looking for content. So if you're looking for a particular procedure, you can simply just type in what you're looking for in the search bar. It's a bit like Google. Once you start to type, it will auto-populate. And as you can see, it brings up suggestions. It will then filter through, and obviously, as you can see on the left-hand side, you can filter by type. So if you're looking for a procedure, select procedure, and it will show you all those procedures within wound care. This is just an example as to what one of the procedures looks like. As I mentioned, it's very much a step-by-step, bit like a sort of recipe card, right? So it gives you instructions, and you can just see an example here. It will also show you if there is any equipment that you need as well. So it really does provide you all the information you need to carry out that procedure with the patient. What you can also see on the procedure is the rationale, so why you're doing what you're doing. And I think this really helps with the understanding, and particularly the learning and developing as well. Throughout the manual, there is enhanced artwork, so lots of nice pictures. You can make them look bigger. You can actually download them as well, all into a PowerPoint presentation. These can be used for training purposes within the hospital, or if you're doing some sort of presentation. If you do have any questions on downloading it, please do let me know, but it is very simple and easy to do. So underneath the search bar, you can also just click on the 3 buttons below. So you've got one that has got procedures, and this will show you the procedures A to Z. You've also got a button for chapters, and then you've got one for illustration. We do find a lot of people just actually use these methods rather than the search bar. And again, this is just an example of the illustrations once you click on the button. Also just wanted to touch on, we've got a marketing site dedicated to the Royal Marsden. It's got everything on there. You can download social media ads, you can download posters, user guides. It's got testimonials, it's got videos, a video from one of the authors who is actually a nurse. Very powerful message. Highly encourage you to look at all of that. I'm happy to share the link around after. So moving on now, I'm conscious of time, I've only got a couple of minutes left. Just wanted to touch on, so different product now. Wiley also has a medical and nursing journal collection. Sits on our online platform, Wiley Online Library. Again, I can share these slides with you. It's got over 400 titles. Highly encourage you to look at some of them, things like Journal of Advanced Nursing. And this is just a quick screenshot of the Wiley Online Library platform. Again, very simple and easy to use. And it's got a search bar there for you, and you can just type in the title. I'm also more than happy to share a list of the titles included in that journal collection as well. One thing just to touch on the journals, all of our journals have padlocks connected to them. You're looking for anything with an open padlock, that means you can view it. So if it's the blue one, it's free access. This means it's just free for everybody. And if you've got the green one, it means you have full access to it. Any questions? So I was going to do an online demo, but I was very conscious of time. But I do encourage you to look at both platforms, have a play around with them, both very simple and easy to use. And if you've got any questions, please do contact me directly. And I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Rachel. That was very informative and very good resource there available from Wiley in terms of both journals and the Royal Marsden, of course. There's a few questions about how people can access all of this, which I think we'll answer in the chat to make sure everyone knows how to access resources online. So thank you for that. I'm going to move on now to Rani Southern-Darbar from OVID. Rani is going to cover Embase, MIDIRS and Midwifery Digest. So over to yourself, Rani. Thank you.
Waiting for Rani to get logged in. There's been some delays getting logged in on the webinar, so give us a minute, but maybe if anyone has any questions while we're waiting for Rani to log in.
Rani, are you with us? You're just on mute there.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Hi, sorry about that, guys. I had a bit of a problem joining. So I'm just going to share my presentation now.
Thank you.
So hopefully you can see my slides. Is that correct? Can someone just confirm?
Yes, we can see them now. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, everyone. My name is Rani Southern-Darbar. I am the trainer and consultant for OVID in the UK and in Ireland. And today I'm going to talk to you very quickly about MIDIRS and Embase and Midwifery Digest on the OVID platform. So just very quickly, what is OVID? So OVID is the platform which hosts your databases and journals, which you have with us at HSC. OVID includes certain searching functionality with up to 6 search modes. We have limits and filters and pre-made expert searches to eliminate records. And of course, we link to those full text resources, whether they're part of your subscription or whether they're freely available online for you. OVID also includes cloud storage, known as My Workspace, which allows you to save your searches and also your records. So a nice little area for you to keep those for you. So firstly, let's talk a little bit about MIDIRS, which stands for Maternity and Infant Care Database. So this is a really nice specific database. It's midwifery specific, of course, and it's a bibliographic database updated on a weekly basis. And it's updated by the MIDIRS team of information specialists, and they scan over 400 information resources. Within the database itself, you've got 400 plus international journals and other sources, and those includes books, guidelines, conference proceedings, grey literature, etc. Now, MIDIRS started in the 1980s, and that's where its content starts from, but there's over 230,000 references within there. And it covers maternal health, pregnancy, childbirth, and infancy. Now, one of the things that make the MIDIRS database quite different to other bibliographic databases you may be aware of, such as Embase and Medline, is that within the database itself, it has over 500 topic-focused standard searches. So you can think of these standard searches as pre-made expert searches that exist, that live in the database for you to use. And you can either use those as searches, or you can combine them with your pre-made search as a limit. And the idea is that for maternity nurses and midwives on the go, this is to make you be able to research quickly and get that valued content without having to create all of these standard searches yourself. So, excuse me. So a little bit about these standard searches and descriptors. So, like I said before, there's 500 plus topic focused standard searches, and you can use them to browse or you can make them searchable if you want to. And you can use these searches or filters to find relevant and precise records. And you can select multiple standard searches if you want to as well. You also have the idea of descriptors, so descriptive words that are indexed within that database, and you can search for those if you'd like as well. Now, to make this as flexible as you would like, you can combine it with your keyword searching. MIDIRS does not have a thesaurus, so it is just a phrase index database, but of course you have these standard searches and these descriptors to combine with it as well, all to help you find those relevant records. So just a brief kind of look at what the MIDIRS search results screen looks like. You've got those you've got those 5 search modes that you can use. You've got basic search, find citation, search fields, advanced search, and of course the multi-field search. And when you're in that basic search screen, it's really useful because you can find all of those synonyms, you can limit to 5-star records, you can find those really useful standard searches. And you've also got the option to browse relevant open access records as well. And you can see in my bottom image, they're just on the right-hand side. You've got the option to save and share those searches and, of course, export your records if you would like. And this is how you can look at your search history. So it's in the standard OVID way. You still have that MP search fields, but you can combine it with any of those standard searches or descriptors. So moving on now to Midwifery Digest. So I won't read everything on this slide for you. I'll allow you to do that a little bit yourself. But what it is, it's a really useful quarterly journal of 136 pages containing evidence-based original articles and reprints, clinical reflections, practice improvements, and opinions that discuss certain topics in detail. So it's there for midwives, student midwives, maternity support workers, or any health professional really who cares for women, babies and their families during pregnancy and during that process. So it's there to help you broaden your knowledge and skills and further your professional academic development, or just there to increase your confidence in day-to-day practice. And you can get a variety of in-depth original articles on research and practice within it. You've got reprints of important and influential articles sourced from over 400 journals. You've got critical analysis of published research and clinical studies. And of course, you've got those reports, reflections and reviews on events and any other maternity academic resources. Now moving on to our considerably larger database, Embase, that you have access to on OVID. So Embase, of course, is a comprehensive biomedical literature database with more than 35 million records. In fact, at the moment, I believe we're close to 40 million than we are 35. And you've got really easy ways to see how many records you have in any of our OVID databases by inputting a little code, docs.dz, and it will show you where we are up to date. So obviously, you've got records from 8,300 journals. Nearly 3,000 of those are not covered in Medline. And the idea is that Embase has much more of a rest of the world journal coverage than Medline. It uses an extensive M-tree thesaurus structure, and you've got clear, comprehensive early coverage of pharmaceuticals during drug development stages and clinical trials. So Embase is manually indexed. Conference abstracts, articles in process and in process are indexed using automated procedures, so AI. So in a nutshell, you've got both. It's manually indexed by experts over at Elsevier, but you also have AI indexing as well. And Embase has special subjects, predominantly diseases, drugs, devices, any form of medical technology as well. And it really does have that focus on diseases, drugs. For instance, you've got CAS registry numbers in there as well. Now, Embase on OVID has important database-specific limits, so limits surrounding clinical trials, methodologies, and additional document types, including conferences and other forms of grey literature. You have 6 searching modes within Embase. MIDIRS, of course, only has 5. You've got the addition of search tools within Embase, which allows you to search for multiple things within the thesaurus as well. Obviously, MIDIRS doesn't have that with thesaurus, so it doesn't have that searching functionality. Now, you can use any or all of these search modes at one time, and you can combine them later on within your search history. And an example of that search history is just at the bottom here. You have the option to use Boolean operators within all of the bibliographic databases available on OVID. Those are and, or not. And you have the option of using the adjacency indicator. So that allows you to find specific words up to 99 words apart from each other. Now, to make the searching process a little bit more accessible and a little bit more easier to users, you've got some other options there as well, such as truncation. So you can either have your standard unlimited truncation, which allows you to find unlimited characters at the end of a word, or you've got specific numerical truncation. So an example here is you can put a number at the end of that truncation symbol, and it will allow you to find so many characters after a word. You've also got 2 variants of wildcards as well. The question mark, which will help you find different characters within a word or at the end, and the hash symbol, which allows you to find one variable character within a word. So we've got some examples of those in the image at the bottom. Just a brief overview of some example searches. OVID makes it really easily accessible to share your search via email, to share it using maybe an instant messaging service like Teams. You can copy your search history link and paste it to whoever you'd like to. And of course, you can copy your search history details. You might want to put it in a Word document or Excel, and that's really useful for documenting your searches, especially if you are somebody who's doing a systematic review. OVID also contains links to full text, and it has 2 different types. You might notice sometimes you've got the OVID full text and sometimes you've got the standard full text. Now, if you have the OVID full text option on one of your bibliographic records, it means that that full text document is somewhere within your journals at OVID subscription. If you don't, if you just get the full text option, it's showing you that the external full text is both free or subscribed. So it's either freely available online or you subscribe to it somewhere else. Just a quick example of what it looks like to print or export your records. OVID will support all of those functions too. And of course, we have training and user support. So those are all available on your Tools at OVID page and in your OVID user page as well. So thank you very much. I will see, do we have any questions?
Thank you very much. I don't think we have any questions coming in directly on the chat, but they may come in later on.
Fantastic.
So thanks very much for that presentation, Rani. And
my pleasure.
Hand over now to Guy Plowman, who's going to talk to us about the RCNI journal collection that staff have access to. Thank you, Guy.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Just checking that you can hear me before I start waffling.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, brilliant on my screen. Okay, so you have access to RCNI journals, and some of what you'll have been listening to will be from big databases who aggregate other people's content and that kind of thing, and have a lot of functionality. This will be a relatively simple, straightforward presentation, and hopefully it will all be clear about how things can be used. So what I'll do is I'll focus a bit more on the content that is available through us, because we are just one publisher with one set of journals.
We're just not seeing your screen, Guy, yet.
Are you not?
No.
Okay.
Guy, do you need me to share your slides, or are you able to share from there? I have them, I can bring them up.
If you could share them, because I can't find the PowerPoint. I'm sharing my screen, and it's up on my screen.
Okay, yeah, if you just give me a shout when you need me to move them on, I'll bring them up now.
Thanks, Laura.
So okay, so if you just go on to the next one. Okay, so essentially we've got 10 journals, and they are all bar 2 still available in paper, but you have online access, obviously, and so it's dynamically optimized for screens of different sizes, mobiles, tablets, laptops, and computers. So you should be able to access quite comfortably from anywhere. If you could go on to the next screen. Nursing Standard is what it says. It is the standard nursing journal. It's a kind of benchmark journal for us. It's our flagship journal, and it comes out on a bi-weekly basis. It's a very regular journal. It used to be available in the high street, and it's not anymore, but it still carries that same weight. It carries the content that it carries is very, very broad. So it includes general policy, but also research in different areas. That is, as I say, that is the one journal which many people as individuals get access to, as well as through their institution, because of its breadth of content. If you could just go on to the next slide. Nurse Researcher is specifically geared towards academic research, which draws information from the nursing industry. It's something that we would really like to be able to encourage more of, but the difficulty is that obviously nurses don't have as much time to do research as they once had in the past. But nevertheless, Nurse Researcher exists so that it carries purely academic research. If you could go on to the next slide. We then have 8 specialty journals, and these, their names effectively tell you exactly what's in there, but they've been picked and developed really to cover the areas that are of most interest. By that I mean most usage. So cancer nursing practice, emergency nurse, which obviously, I mean, as I said, the titles say what they do. Mental health practice and learning disability practice are 4 of them. If you go on to the next slide. Nursing children and young people, nursing management, nursing older people, and primary healthcare. So that is the 8 specialty journals. I'm assuming that you'll have access to this presentation afterwards. So if you want to see what there is, you can just come to our website and they're listed, or you can look at the presentation and you'll see them. One thing I will mention is actually, if you go on to the next slide, I think it's on there anyway. Okay, yeah, so you can go to this website, or you can, where you can see all of the journals listed, or you can look at this presentation. But the one thing I will say is you've actually got access from all content from January 2013 to the present. If you do a search on our website, anything before that obviously hits a barrier. But there are other journals which have morphed. For example, if you see something that's pediatric care, or paediatric nursing, then it's a former version of nursing children and young people. And it's an evolution rather than a direct replacement. But if you see anything in our database, which is not one of these 10 titles, it's normally just a previous version of one of these 10 titles. Okay, if you go on to the next slide. Just to give you a brief view of our website, generally, as I said, we keep things really simple. And the reason is because we've got 10 journals and it's content focused. This is our journals homepage. You can either click on quick links to go through to individual journals. I will say that if you look at the list on the right hand side, there is an extra journal, and that's learning disability. So it's evidence-based nursing. It's not available through the package that you have with us, but I do believe that you've probably got it through the BMJ, because we co-publish it with them and they have the rights to sell the institutional license. It appears here because we also have individuals who have subscriptions and we have the rights to sell the individual subscriptions. So if someone comes here and they've got an individual subscription, they can get access to evidence-based nursing, but it's not part of the package. So those quick links don't have it. There's also the search bar at the top. If you just go to the next slide, this is what you get if you click on one of the quick links. It's a browsing, and it's almost a magazine type website interface where we will push things that we think are interesting or important. And so you can browse to what someone else has kind of edited into highlights and that kind of thing. But there's also a full list of content. So if you want to read the most recent issue or previous issue, you can do that. But it's very much a magazine type browsing experience. If you just go on to the next slide. But we do also have an advanced search. It may not be as advanced as some interfaces, but it has all of the basics that you will hear about many times from different suppliers here. So you can search, I don't know if you can see it on the screen because it is slightly small. I wanted to give you a feel of what the advanced search looks like. But basically you can do all of the normal searches by author or by a specific title, and you can filter by the journals and keywords and that kind of thing, and by specific issues as well, and at the bottom by DOI. So there is the advanced search. If you are actually searching for a specific topic and you don't know where to look, that's where you go. And as I said, it's a relatively simple advanced search, and it does all of the normal functionality that you'll see in every advanced search that you'll see on journals websites. But it is all very straightforward. It's there in one page, and you can use Boolean logic and that kind of thing. But we've got people who can actually help if you need to use the advanced search, and it's not as obvious as you would think. So if you want to do an advanced search, then we've got people who can actually help you do that. And I think that is the end of the presentation. I left 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask. But as I say, the main thing is, I know that some of you come through our platform and some of you come through your own aggregated platform. So your search functionality will be different, even if you come through us than if you come through your actual normal interface. But you are able to do so, and it's those 10 journals, 8 of which are very specific. But any questions? Nope.
Thanks so much, Guy, for your presentation. We're just monitoring the chat there for questions, as attendees are unable to unmute themselves. But if anybody just have any questions for any of our presenters, please use the chat function.
Yeah.
So
and I'll be available to answer any questions offline as well. So if you think of anything I can't imagine that you will, because it is all very simple from our perspective compared to some of the other presentations that you'll have. But if you do, then you can contact me. My email's on the presentation.
That's great. And we're going to hand over now to Emma Hodkinson, who's with us today to talk to us about UpToDate clinical decision support too. So thank you. So Emma, we'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Can I just check that you can hear me okay?
You can.
Okay, so I'm going to try and share my screen now. So, okay, I think that should be successful. So you should be able to see the UpToDate homepage on screen, is that correct?
We can, thank you.
Perfect, okay, so I thought I'd actually conduct this presentation actually in the UpToDate resource itself, and rather than present a few slides. So quick introduction from me. I'm Emma Hodkinson. I'm Customer Success Specialist for UpToDate. And my background is nursing. Originally, I was an adult nurse, and then I specialised in paediatrics and neonates. And I'm still a registered nurse, and yeah, I make clinical decisions. So all the resources available to me are really, really helpful. So I think, you know, first, what is UpToDate? So UpToDate is a evidence-based clinical decision support resource, and it aims to support all healthcare professionals to get answers to their clinical questions, as well as to support their learning as well. So, you know, from day to day, you will be looking after patients with conditions that you're quite familiar with, and then from time to time, there will be some unfamiliar symptoms or conditions, and you've got various clinical questions. So UpToDate is a resource that is available to help you get answers to your clinical questions as quickly as possible. Now, what we're looking at here is the UpToDate homepage. We try and keep everything really simple. This is the web-based view, but it can, if you do register for an UpToDate account, then you can actually download the UpToDate app onto 2 devices. And everything that I'm going to show you today is available on the mobile app as well. So in the center, you see the UpToDate search bar, and you can search for any conditions, symptom, lab test, medication. And, you know, your clinical question can be as specific or as vague as the information that you have to hand. But just before we do a quick search, I just want to orientate you to some of the other tools that you have available. So at the top here, we have calculators. We have over 210 calculators, clinical calculators available. Really quick and easy to access by specialty, or you can list them alphabetically, or you can type it in. In fact, on the mobile app, you can actually just press the microphone and you can speak the calculator that you're looking for, and it will automatically find it. So they're all hyperlinked. Then you can just click and launch that particular calculator, perform the calculation, and get the answer that you need, which is really, really handy for nurses. You know, sometimes I know that, you know, that there are calculations in other maybe clinical patient records, etc., that you have access to, but these are completely available, you know, outside of those resources as well. We also have a drug interactions tool, and just for, you know, I don't have much time today, so I've prepared an example of some drug interactions. So our drug interactions tool allows you to input any prescribed or over-the-counter medications. You can put herbal medication in there, as well as some food items. And the drug interactions tool, when you click analyze, it will run a drug-to-drug, drug-to-herb, or herb-to-herb interaction. And then it will very quickly come up with a risk rating that you can view. Now, this is really helpful when, you know, you have a patient who's maybe been prescribed a new medication, or they've been admitted with a medication that, that you're not familiar with, or maybe even the patient has a question about as well. So the drug interaction tool is one of the most used tools by nurses within UpToDate. So that's just two of the resources. They're always available on the toolbar, regardless of where you are in UpToDate. So I'm just going to quickly jump back to our home page here, and you just do that by clicking the UpToDate logo. There's a list of contents here which are really helpful for you. So for what's new, you can jump in and have a look at any important updates that are shared by our author and editorial team for your specialty. UpToDate covers 25 different specialties, and then you can have a look at any updates specific to your specialty. If you do register for an UpToDate account, these updates will be sent to you via email. Part of the registration process will ask you what your specialty and role is, so it will send you specific what's new information specific to your specialty. So if you're working in pediatrics, such as myself, I will get any what's new information emailed to me on a regular basis. Any practice changing updates. So for instance, if you're part of a group that are reviewing guidelines or protocols within your particular specialty or department, these are really useful to help you maintain your local guidelines, and then you can look in there for any practice changing updates. We also have topics by specialty. So I mentioned the search bar on the home page, but you can take an advanced view of topics for your specialty. So for instance, if you're a midwife and you're interested in obstetric topics only, then you can just look in that particular section, and then you can drill down and have a look at topics specific to the area of interest that you want to gain more information about. And this is really useful for midwives and nurses who have worked in that specialty for a long period of time, but also for the new nurses coming into that specialty, as well as student nurses as well, can gain a lot of information just by viewing the topics in UpToDate specific to the area that they're working in. Okay, so again, just on the interest of time, I mentioned that you can input your clinical question, and that can be an abbreviation, a drug, a symptom, a condition. So for today, I'm just going to put in asthma. And as you see, as you start to type, it will automatically start to give you suggestions aimed to reduce the amount of time that you spend typing, because we want to get you to the answer to your clinical question as quickly as possible. So again, when you view the search results, it will default to all, but you can filter by adult or pediatric. Now, UpToDate has over 12,500 clinical topics. So this is just searching the clinical topics related to your search. And again, we also have patient information. So we've got over 1,500 patient information topics as well. And these can be printed out and shared with your patients. Some of our patient information also have some video content that can be shared with patients as well. So when there is a decision to admit patients, you know, nurses, we're always working for that discharge planning process as well. So we do have over 110 video content within UpToDate that is specific to supporting patient education as well. So please do, you know, feel free to have a look at those. Now the videos can't be shared, but the transcript of the video can be printed as well. These are also, the patient information is also available in a number of languages. Okay, so that is a sort of a whistle-stop tour of the searching and some of our regular resources and tools available within UpToDate. But I just also want to point to these links just down below, always available on the home page, where you can access further help and training and demos as well, to support your understanding of the UpToDate resource and get the most from it. So I'm just looking to see if there are any questions at this point.
Hi, Emma. You actually have a little bit more time, or slightly ahead of schedule, in case anyone has a question.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So what I'll do then, let me just go in and have a look at our topic. So within the topic, I'm going to choose an adult topic here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to select our one of our topics. Let me just, sorry. Okay, here we go. This is what our topic looks like. All of our topics, I said there's over 12,500 topics within UpToDate. They are all published the same. So you have the outline over here on the left. The topic view shows, but there are also graphics as well. We have over 36,000 graphics within UpToDate. All of the graphics, and they consist of tables, algorithms, full color diagrams, and some video content as well. They can all be exported to PowerPoint, used as presentations. They can also be printed as well, and they can be shared. Within the topic outline, you see that there are a number of sections. One of those sections will also lead you directly to any relevant society guideline links. So you don't need to leave UpToDate resource to access the society guidelines. You can just link directly to them from here. All of our references are available as well. They're all hyperlinked, and you can click on them. And if your organization does subscribe to the source evidence database, then you can access that information in full as well. All of the graphics are there, as I mentioned earlier. And we also have over 9,500 graded recommendations within UpToDate. So our graded recommendations, I'll just see if there is one in here. There might not be, but our graded recommendations are based, the number is based on the strength of the grade, and then the letter is based on the quality of the evidence. So if you do look within the grade summary and recommendations section, and there is a grade, for example, a 1A, just click on it and it'll give you further information about our graded recommendations. And throughout the topics, there will be hyperlinks where you can click on them to find out more information. So yeah, please, it's really super easy to use. And as a registered user, you can also collect your continuing professional development points. So each and every time that you search UpToDate and view topics, you will collect CPD points. Just by clicking on the CPD section, you can then go through and redeem the CPD, and also you can view your history. So for any of the content that you have looked at, you can view the log. So for instance, time-based tracking for me, I can have a look at the log and I can print off any of the CPD points that I have accrued and redeemed. And there's also a certificate that will be generated that you can use as part of your revalidation as well. So that's really helpful when you do come to the time to go through the process of your revalidation. And that is what an example of what the certificate will look like. Okay, I think I might have run out of time at this point.
Thanks, Emma. We have one or two questions. I suppose many people are wondering, how do they register for UpToDate? UpToDate is subscribed to by the HSE, so it's the same as registering for any electronic resource. Please visit hselibrary.ie and register for an online account. I think there is a separate registration for some of our resources, including UpToDate, and the benefit of that is that, as Emma has shown, you will be able to personalize your experience and gain CPD credits for articles you read. There's also an app available, which people find very useful.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, so initially to register for UpToDate, you do need to be connected to a device that is connected to the network. Yeah, and then as long as you log into UpToDate on your organisation network at least once every 90 days, it will automatically re-verify your subscription, your account. It will keep your account open. But if you do have any sort of questions about the registration or the re-verification, you know, again, I know that your library services are really helpful, and you can always reach out to me as well.
There is one question, Emma, also for an organisation that doesn't currently subscribe to UpToDate. They were just wondering about the opportunities to subscribe individually and options available to them. That might be something you want to discuss with them offline, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do contact me offline or simply go to uptodate.com. If the organisation does not subscribe to UpToDate, there are individual subscriptions available, but you know, I think the majority of the organisations do subscribe to UpToDate. And I think also, just to mention, you can also access UpToDate via Open Athens as well. And via Open Athens, you can, again, you can register for your own account, which enables you to download the mobile app, and then that gives you UpToDate anywhere.
Great, thanks very much, Emma. I'm just going to share our agenda just to recap on where we're at the moment. So we're coming up to a comfort break now. And as I mentioned before, please use the chat for a Q&A. But we'll come back at 11:50. So this is the opportunity to get a cup of coffee or stretch the legs, etc. And after our break, we will hear from two other suppliers, ProQuest and BMJ, before moving on to the final presenters for the morning. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll reconvene at 11:50. Hi everybody, you're all very welcome back. Hope you had a chance there for a quick break. We're going to move on now to hear from Daniela Cason from ProQuest, and she is going to talk to us about Health Research Premium, one of the databases we subscribe to. So Daniela, you're very welcome. And
hello, good morning. I hope you can hear me well.
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my PowerPoint presentation. Here we are. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Daniela. I am one of the trainers for ProQuest and Clarivate, and we are speaking about particularly one of the components of the collection of Health Research Premium Collection, which is called Nursing and Allied Health and Database. So let's say, looking at basically the content of this little workshop, we will look at discovering the nursing and allied content on ProQuest. You can see my presentation, and we'll see some search applications that will show how to apply basic and advanced search features, discussing all along some of the tools, and also we'll see how to identify the appraised studies in evidence-based medicine in nursing. Some, suggested best practices, how to apply the searches on them. So, as I mentioned, Nursing and Allied Health Database is one of the components of a wider collection that you subscribe to, which is called Research Premium Collection. And here you see, which is the structure, which are the other components included, and most of them are made up of full text resources, excluding Medline, which is as you know, the bibliographic only, but all the others contain a lot of full text sources. Now, for each one of them here, I have just highlighted which are the main source types. So most of them are journal articles. There are, in some cases, magazines. We'll see how varied is the content for nursing and allied health. And for some others of these sources, there are a lot of also some other, let's say, borderline source types like magazines, news, reports, and dissertations. And for Nursing and Allied Health Database, the core content is over 1,200 scholarly journal titles, of which of them, several of them are peer-reviewed and current. Next to these, there is some other, a set of sources like case studies, dissertations, government reports, magazines, etc., and some cultural country reports, which will describe it a little more in a minute. Next to the scholarly journal, you see in this little table here, there is the current number of source types, source titles, not records, but source types per each of the types. And as you see, the bulk of it is scholarly journals, but there are books, there are several types of books, editions, over 31,000 dissertation and thesis. Most of them are full text. Of course, they are concentrated on nursing and allied health topics. You can easily identify case studies. There are over 100,000 of them. They stratify several source types. As I mentioned, another particular set of content are these country reports and some Canadian province reports. They describe in detail the costumes, the cultures of different countries, listing around 30 ethnic groups and 11 religions, and they help you familiarize with the attitudes, with the costumes, with the gestures, with the culture of this population, because there are a lot of them. They are in our countries, and so we need to understand how to approach them in a considered manner. So this will give you an idea of how to approach them better. And there is a collection of training videos, around 200 of them, they can be viewed online, they can be researched, the transcript, the full text transcript can also be researched, then can be shared with the URL that can be embedded or shared. And you see here a breakdown of the topics that are covered, or some of them actually, they are the topics themselves. In other case, they are the name of the publisher, so some of the best known publishers. Speaking of searching, there are several levels of searching on the ProQuest interface. This is the advanced search level, where you have a lot of helps when you want to build the strategy with the search, with focusing on specific fields. And so we can go and cover them in very detailed training sessions, just to give you an idea. And this collection is also indexed with central ProQuest thesaurus, and up to a certain year also by the mesh thesaurus. And they can be searched, the thesaurus can be searched by a visual window, and in the visual thesaurus you can just launch your term, click on find, it will give you the term, whether it is a controller term or a synonym. You can, if it's a controller term, you can select it and add to the search, and the system will attach the proper syntax to search it in the proper field. So it's an easy way to approach the thesaurus, to explore it, and even to find suggestions to synonyms in some cases. Now we have here, I added some sample applications, starting from, let's say, a simple interface. Here is an example by the basic search, where I put together several synonyms for each concept: the coronavirus, the vaccine, and the possibility of treating the adverse events by the vaccine, by the paracetamol or antipyretics, etc. And I got this many results by applying also the filters to specific source types. And you will find in the presentation some example results. Using the advanced search, I can limit my search to specific fields, for example, excluding the full text, making the search more focused. Here, I'm searching the possibility of transmission to human subject, the avian or bird flu. And so you see here, I apply the synonyms, I apply the truncation, the proximity operator, so all the tools that are available for advanced search if you feel to do it. And here there will be some examples, pretty recent, some of them, I retrieved them just last week actually. And so they are up to the current publication. And there is some concern, as a matter of infection going on. And of course, there are some of the codes that can be used as synonyms as well. Here is an example of a short systematic review that can be run in ProQuest using the multi-set searches. Here is a combination, is a picker search combining the search in the thesaurus, in the controller terms, and the free text, combining them all, and in the end you get the final results, which you can of course save and export. And you will find here also some suggested strategies to extract these studies, like meta-analysis, systematic reviews, clinical trials, and guideline. I am almost out of time, so here you can find some examples how to search in identifying specific fields where the term would be found. So typically the title, the controller terms, or the publication title. And here are some examples with some search topics where you can single out particularly the studies like guidelines, etc. You can combine the fields in a very easy way, even the search labels, and you will find here some examples for which one of them. Then for saving the results, you can save them in several ways. You can export them in the reference managers, you can save them in several formats, but you can also have the possibility of exporting them in bulk. So if you have this type of amount of results and you want to from a systematic review, for example, and you want to retrieve them all, you can do that. You have 20 attempts per day per user, and you can download 20,000 records per attempt. And so this means a huge amount of results if you need to. Okay, so you will find some instructions in the PowerPoint presentation about this possibility. There needs some setup, but it's quite easy to use, quite intuitive once you know what's needed. And you will find the presentation of the link to some support resources, both for the search syntax in the ProQuest platform and for the Nursing and Allied Health Guide. And you can always contact me if you need to have any question or you want to go much more in depth in how to shape these searches. I think I went more or less in time, I hope. I don't know if there are any questions for me on this.
Thank you so much, Daniela. I really appreciate your time and preparation for today's webinar. And thank you for keeping the time. Also, if people have questions, please contact Daniela individually. You have her email address there, or use the chat function. So next up we have Ali Boukabache from the British Medical Journal. Thank you so much, Ali, for joining us. You have a little bit of a longer slot. You've got 20 minutes because you're covering BMJ best practice, which everybody in Ireland has access to, regardless of where they work or where they're based. And that is supported by Health Library Ireland, and also BMJ Learning you're going to cover. So over to yourself, Ali, and thank you for turning your camera on. Just a note to the presenters. Nice to be able to see you as well, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Aoife. I'm very pleased to be with you all today. Of course, I am covering these two resources, but I thought I'll be cheeky and do a bit of a plug-in for the other resources you've got access to from BMJ. So I'm currently looking at the HSC landing page, and you do have access to, of course, our journals, but also BMJ case reports, which is a large collection of medical cases, but also allows you to publish your own cases as well, whether you're working as individuals or in teams. We also have these lovely flyers, interactive flyers available for the various specialties. So please do use these. I'll pop this in the chat in a moment. With the journals, of course, we've got access to a lot of our journals, which you can access directly, of course. As I said, case reports is just here under general medicine. Under public health, we've got a number of other journals, such as BMJ Quality and Safety. Earlier, Guy mentioned evidence-based nursing. I thought I'd share this. So it's a journal that we co-own with the RCNI. So it's a great title for you to read as well. So evidence-based nursing is available to you here, and it provides sort of summaries of higher quality research. Of course, these need to be relevant to nurse practice, or nursing practice rather. So as I said, very quick plug-in on some of the other resources you've got access to from BMJ. Now, going back to BMJ Learning, that's what I'm starting with here. So it is an online platform which offers hundreds of evidence-based, peer-reviewed learning courses that have various types of courses that we'll look at in a moment. We've got some great user reviews which you can use to help you decide on which course to go for. You can do the learning at your own time, at your own pace, and of course you can use BMJ Learning to meet your CPD requirements. I just wanted to add that on average, our users will improve their score between the pre-test in the module. So usually you start the module, the pre-test, you do the learning, then the post-test. On average, users will improve their score by 37%. So you can be assured that the time you're spending on BMJ Learning will be of benefit to you. And we do use a variety of formats, so videos, animations, audio, etc. as well. We've also incorporated or started adding collections. So I've got a few collections on the screen, so I guess you won't be surprised to see that ECG skills, diabetes, safeguarding are very popular collections. But we've also got the practical skills collections, so basic practical skills, airways management, for example, and we also have our non-clinical collections, so communication skills, leadership, quality improvement, well-being. So these are all non-clinical collections. And I thought I'd share some of the popular learning modules on the website. You've got the list in there, but it includes some of the things that you're familiar with, like the bottom on the list there, challenges in hospital care, pressure ulcers. And with BMJ learning as well, I think there's primary care, one of the topics, so it does cover some primary care as well. So in terms of access, you do need to go in through Open Athens most of the time. So let's say it's probably safest to go in using Open Athens. So very quickly, learning.bmj.com, and then you click on login at top right corner, scroll down, select Open Athens bottom left, and then you search for your institutions. I just started typing HSC West, or if you actually just type HSC, we'll have a list of the institutions come up. You click on one, enter your Open Athens details, and then you quickly register for an account, and then that's it. You only do this once. In future, you can just log in directly to the website, either with this personal account or with your Open Athens. With this personal account, you can actually use it on BMJ best practices as well, which we'll be covering soon. For this bit, I'm going to actually go onto the website, so I'll be switching between slides and the sites. Okay, so let's see if I can move this thing out of the way. Yep. So on the BMJ Learning website, I'm actually logged in now. So one of the things with BMJ Learning, although the topics may take half an hour to an hour to complete, you don't have to do it all in one sitting. So you can start and stop to do the learning at your own time, at your own pace. So these are the topics I've been looking at recently, so I can jump straight back into them and continue with the learning. You can browse by the specialties provided here. And if I carry on scrolling down, for example, I can look at some of the important updates we've had recently. So, for example, this one here, hospital presentations, aggressive or disturbed behavior. If I carry on scrolling down, I'll just go to the bottom and show you where the collections are. So if I click here, view all. So you find those ECG skills collection, the diabetes collection, safeguarding that we've seen, or we've mentioned earlier. And if I carry on scrolling down, we'll have some of those non-clinical collections. Equality is in there, for example, career development. And if I continue, I'll have some other key collections here as well. Okay, so you can see mental health is here as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna go on this one maybe. Okay, so just to show you what this looks like. So within a collection, if I pass all the content, all the courses within a collection, I can have a CPD for everything together. You can see that this particular collection is targeted at nurses as well as other healthcare professionals, as you can see there. And if I scroll down, you can see my progress within some of these courses. So I've actually passed some of these. Some of them I'm still in progress. I can click here to show more. Let me jump back into here. A quick sort of tip. If you wanted to, of course, you can use search for any content on the site. But if you wanted to surface nurses, so if I wanted to just surface all the content that's maybe relevant to nurses, or if you're searching for a topic, for example, diabetes, and then you wanted to simply look at relevant courses to you, then you can use the audience filters here. So if I select the filters here, then I'll have the courses that are relevant to me, okay, or relevant in this case to nurses. Okay, so it's very straightforward to go through a course. I have actually done quite a lot of courses on the website. Okay, so for this one, for example, I've already sort of started, but I can click continue. Just briefly on the home page, we've got the learning outcomes, all the various user reviews that we mentioned, and we can either save it for later, and we'll find it top right corner there, or we can start the learning and go through it. So as I said, very straightforward. You do the learning, you watch any videos, and you simply and then towards the end. In this case, we've got pre-test, but just to give you an example, so these are the various sections within this particular course. At the end, I'm just going to fast forward to the end. Okay, using my slides. So at the end, if you pass, you'll be able to print certificates, although you don't have to do it there and then, and you can review the course as well, of course. And this is what the certificates would look like for a completion. This pass marks vary between 60 to 80% usually. So one very last thing here before we move from BMJ Learning, I'm going to close that, is that, of course, here I can only see the 4 most recent courses. I can always click on View All to see all of the courses there. Okay, so that's a brief look at BMJ Learning. So I'll do something similar with BMJ Best Practice as well. So BMJ Best Practice, as we heard just now from Aoife, is available to everyone, so there shouldn't be any access issues. Best Practice is a clinical decision support tool which has been designed for use at the point of care. It is, of course, evidence-based, it is continuously updated, and it is practical. And if you were to sort of ask for 3 things that make BMJ Best Practice unique, I say that it's structured around the patient journey with advice on the test ordering, treatment approach, prevention. It's useful for the whole healthcare team because it's a generalist tool. So it's used by nurses, but similar to BMJ Learning, it can also be used, or it is also used in general practice too, in primary care. And those in the acute setting, it's Best Practice is the only point of care tool that has a dedicated comorbidities manager, which enables clinicians to treat the whole patient when dealing with their acute condition. So they're able to add their other comorbidities. So we may be able to showcase that a little later. So they're able to add the other comorbidities, such as diabetes or COPD, etc., and then it tailors the management plan for them. We do work very closely with you, our users, to make sure that we've got a tool that's fit for purpose, that does what you want it to do. And what you tell us is that you want to get your answers quickly. You want information that's practical and actionable for the user at the point of care. You want the assurance that comes with trusted clinical evidence, and you'd like to access everywhere and anytime. And we've got an award-winning application which enables you to do that. As I said, access is very easy. So bestpractice.bmj.com. And you may be prompted to create a personal account on the website. You could do that on the site. You could do that on the app too. But with the personal account, you're able to do a number of things. Of course, you need the personal account for the app, of course, but there are a number of other features as well that the app could be, the personal account would be useful for. In terms of the getting onto the app, you can either search for the apps on the App Store or Google Play for BMJ Best Practice, or scan that code, which will give you both links, and then you click on whichever link is appropriate for you. And it's, as you can see there in the app on the sort of right-hand side, you are able to either just register or log in if you've already created an account. For example, if you've already logged into BMJ Learning, you can use the same account on here. I am now going to switch over to the website. So this is what the website looks like. We've got easy sort of search functionality, which is what the majority of people would sort of use. We've got this browsing functionality here. So you've got 32 specialties within BMJ Best Practice. For example, you can go into primary care, you can go into obs and gynae, and then you'll find all the topics within that particular specialty. I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that we've got some assessment topics as well, which may be used for the assessment of a sign, symptom, or test finding. Could be used for triage, for example. Some of these vary. Of course, we're looking at specialty now, but it could be things like assessment of back pain, for example. Okay, so and I am going to go back to the homepage by clicking the logo there. You've got your calculators. The comorbidities tool, patient leaflets are incorporated within BMJ best practice, aimed at a region age of a 9-year-old, continuously updated to match the information on the topic. We've got videos. So a lot of these are clinical procedures. For example, I've opened 2 of them here. I've got an example here, which is quite sort of nice. Another one around blood pressure examination. So they're great videos that are available. Obviously, these are referenced within the topics as well. We're speaking about evidence-based medicine. I thought I'd highlight that within the evidence section, you can find a bit more about the evidence based on BMJ best practice. For example, Cochrane clinical analysis is integrated within BMJ best practice. All the fundamentals of EBM can be found here. For example, what's a grade, how to appraise systematic reviews, and so on. And then we've got evidence tables as well. So we could look at what that one of these would look like. Do I have one open? No. So if I click on this one, for example, you'll see it has this sort of PICO formats that we mentioned earlier, or that was mentioned earlier, and then you so you've got the question there, the effectiveness of the various sort of outcomes that you're looking at. Okay, so I am going to look at quickly at a topic. So if I open up, I'm just going to do a search first, COPD today. Okay, I could just have selected the topic from here, but I just thought I'd show the what the results page looks like. This icon here means that the topic has the comorbidities manager. Alternatively, you can browse the section here. I can look at images and videos relevant to my search term. You find some of these videos are more the sort of education type, patient education type videos, auscultation sounds and so on. So a lot of videos are appearing for the search term, as well as images, of course, and case reports that can be found there. Let's go on to the topic. One of the best things about BMJ best practice, as I said, is that it's a generalist tool, but it's also a great tool, and it's a very intuitive tool to use. So you've got the headings, the various headings, the theory, the diagnosis information, the management, follow-up, and then the various resources and the guideline and the resources. So the various guidelines, whether it's the NICE guidelines, European guidelines, and the content on these acute topics is more aligned with European and UK guidelines. You've got the various images, patient leaflets, calculators, the evidence here, and it's very easy to move from one section to the other. So if I scroll down a little bit, these are highlights of the various sections within the topics, contributors, and so on. But let's just click on a couple of things here. Investigations. Is it coming up? So yeah, so you've got a nice layout for investigations here. May even include emerging tests, but if I open this one like that, you see the test, the result. Look at the top one there. Again, you've got the test there, the result, but you've also got a little lovely video there for help. If I look under management, there is a text sort of version, step-by-step text version, but let's go straight ahead and look at the treatment algorithm. It's one of the more used for sections within the topic. So here I can add the patient's other existing conditions. I can add whether they've got suspected frailty or a current smoker. And if I click on the left-hand side, the details for that particular treatment will appear on the right. For example, oxygen, and you've got the details here. Okay, you've also got practical tips within this. So I'm going to leave it at that in terms of the website. I just finished with the slides here. Just to say, with regards to the app, as I said, it is the highest rated clinical decision support app on both platforms. Very easy to use, similar to the, what am I doing? It seems to be going back up. Let's start again. Present. So that should have been the last slide. Yeah. So you can use patient leaflets and share them through the app as well, bookmarks, etc. Very easy to use. The comorbidities manager is also available through the app. And that is my last slide. Just wanted to finish on time, although I started a minute or two late. So thank you very much for your time. If you've got any questions, you've got my email address in there, and maybe let's see if there's something in chat. I'll stop sharing.
Thanks very much, Ali. That was really informative. And I had just put into the chat that BMJ best practice is available to everybody in Ireland. There's no necessity to log in, although you can create a personal account if you wish to do so. Just to mention that this is the 3rd year running we've made BMJ best practice available to everybody in Ireland, and a press release is going out to the medical press. It's gone out actually this week, because it's a good news story for the country. Everybody has access. They don't need to they don't need to log in. So regardless of what device they're using, it is free for everybody. So just wanted to make that clear to everyone and to encourage people to use it. And as Ali had said, it's for all healthcare professionals, and the patient education leaflets are particularly interesting. We have very high usage of it in Ireland, consistent high usage for the last 2-3 years really. So that speaks for itself. We are now having a little 4-minute comfort break, and we will resume back at 25 past. We have just 3 vendors left to talk. CINAHL from EBSCO, Medicines Complete from the Royal Pharmaceutical Press, and the Cochrane Library from Wiley. So we'll take a couple of minutes and we'll be back at 12:25. Thank you. So welcome back, everybody. I'm now going to hand you over to Richard Crooks from EBSCO, who's going to talk to you about CINAHL, one of the resources that Gethin mentioned earlier this morning. You're very welcome, Richard.
Hi, thank you, Aoife, for that. No, I don't think, for some reason my camera stopped working this morning, but I don't know why that is. But apologies for that. It's the first time it's happened. What I'll do now, I'll just share my screen. So let me just go and share content from this. Let's see my PowerPoint. So let me just share. You can see that right now, but to get to this, I'll just put delay there. Let's see. Okay, I think you probably can see one of the notes at the moment. Is that right, Aoife?
Not seeing your screen yet, Richard.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. This is interesting. I'm not bringing up the right screen here for some reason. Cancel that. Okay, sorry, I've got my try this again.
I can share this presentation for you if you like, Richard. I have it here.
Yeah, that might be easier. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not displaying. Okay, thank you. Okay, so welcome to this brief session then on accessing the evidence. So I'm Richard Crooks. I'm a chartered librarian and also training manager for EBSCO. So in this short session, I want to outline some of the key evidence-based features of DIAMED. Sorry, DIAMED, CINAHL complete. Okay. So in terms of the objectives then, I hope by the end of this brief webinar, you'll be able to limit results to evidence-based content to support research. You will also be able to use clinical queries to retrieve clinically relevant and scientifically sound results. You will also be able to access evidence-based care sheets and quick lessons to support practice, and also find support materials for using the CINAHL database. So CINAHL is essentially a nursing and allied health database. So you'll find access to over 5,500 index journals, of which about 3,800 are active full text. So it not only covers nursing, but also biomedicine, even health sciences, librarianship, alternative complementary medicine, and other subject areas. And you'll find not just journals, but also healthcare books, nursing dissertations, selected conference proceedings, and standards of practice. And there's a sample of some of the key titles that are available active full text in this database. Okay, so if you want more information on CINAHL, please visit the ebsco.com website. And that's of course included in the PowerPoint. So access to the database is through the Health Library Ireland website. So if you go to the resources section and then scroll down to CINAHL, then or search for CINAHL, then you can go straight to the database, or at least the access point, and you will log in, sign in with Open Athens according to your organization. So again, hsclibrary.ie for access to CINAHL, and then through Open Athens. Okay, so this will take you to the advanced search page where you can run both basic and advanced searches. I'm not going to go through that today in terms of the search experience as such, but what I want to do is run a demo search and then highlight some of the key functionality. So in a moment, I will switch to the demonstration, but just want to highlight some evidence-based filters and resources that are currently available within CINAHL. So we have these evidence-based practice filter. So that will search the special interest field for index content in CINAHL for the value of evidence-based practice. So what that means is you're going to retrieve articles from the evidence-based practice journals. You'll also find articles about evidence-based practice, research articles, and that includes systematic reviews, clinical trials, meta-analyses, and also commentaries on research studies. The clinical queries filters, which have been designed in collaboration with Marsden University in Canada to work on the EBSCO's interface. These are specific search strategies that have been developed to produce results in 5 research areas for CINAHL, so therapy, prognosis, review, qualitative research, and etiology. We'll look at those in a moment. And then we have 2 key documents in addition to the standard academic journal literature that you have. We have evidence-based care sheets. So these are designed to provide information on what we know or can do about a particular condition, disease, etc. So the focus there is on nursing practice. And then we also have the quick lessons, which are clinically organized nursing overviews with information mapped to the nursing workflow. Okay, so I want to switch screens here and go to the live demonstration. So hopefully this time I will be able to share my screen and you will see the web browser, and then I'll take you to the screen here. So wait a minute, I'm going to bring up this. Okay, so let me just go back here. So I need to drag this across here. Okay, so can you see that, Aoife?
Yes, thanks, Richard. Richard, sorry to interrupt you. We've just had a bit of feedback. If you could just slow down a small bit. I know you're trying to cover everything. Thanks very much.
Okay, sure, that's fine. Okay, I will do. So this is the listing of results. Having run the search, applied this filter, evidence-based practice journal, we have 310 records. They're sorted in relevance order here. The default sort, by the way, is the most recent. So you will see the most recent content listed first, which you know is important for the evidence base, as it were. Okay, and then on the left-hand column, you have the publications filter, which allows you to select a specific journal, for example, Wounds UK here, Journal of Community Nursing, or if you prefer, you can click show more, and you can select more than one of these from the selection option there. You can also sort them alphabetically as well. So if you navigate to a particular journal, then you can select from here. So for example, evidence-based medicine there, you just click an update and it will retrieve that one record from that list. And then you can link to the full text accordingly. So that's the application of the evidence-based practice filter. I just want to delete that and just move on quickly now to the next filter, as it were, the clinical queries filters. Screen is frozen. Okay, let's just clear that. Click new search. So in this example, we're going to look at gestational diabetes in Ireland. So I'm going to start typing this and enter my terms in the top search box. I'm also going to qualify this by doing a search within the citation fields and also the full text through this option, TX. Combine it with and refer to Ireland specifically. Now, Ireland is a subject heading, an index term within CINAHL. So I'm going to select the corresponding field code here. So this is the exact heading. So anything that relates to Ireland as a country, as a territory, as a nation, as a population group in terms of the research that's been carried out and indexed on CINAHL, this will be assigned to it. Okay, so going to be more country specific here. Then in addition to that, I'm going to scroll down and apply the clinical queries filter. So you'll see these filters here on the right hand column. There's a drop down menu, if you like, and then you can choose the appropriate research area. So in this case, I'm going to go for causation or etiology, and the search strategy I'm going for is the best balance. So that's the best balance between high sensitivity, which will bring back all relevant materials or results, but may include, it's quite broad. High specificity is more targeted, so it focuses on the most relevant result set, but it could omit some that could be of interest. So if you're like me or a cautious person, then you might go for best balance. Okay, so you can apply this clinical queries filter to this search. Okay, so if we run the search now, you'll see this is indicating the search options in the search history. So the search history with the search terms, we have the filters that we've applied, and then we have these 24 results, and we can navigate to those. Okay. So again, we've got the most recent listed first, but if you want to bring back the most relevant, we can change that through this page option within the result list. Okay. And you can see here we've got this reference to the risk factors and outcomes for women birthing in Ireland. And if we click on this particular link to the title of this record, you can see that these authors are affiliated with Trinity College in Dublin and also the HSE in Ireland as well. Okay, and then you have the reference below. If you want the full text, then you can follow the prompt to link to the full text there on the left-hand column. Alternatively, you can also go directly to the full text through the DOI here. This is the Digital Object Identifier, which is specific to this publication. And there you can view the PDF through Science Direct there. Okay, so this is coming through a subscription from within Ireland. Okay. So that is the clinical queries filter that can be applied. And then just quickly, we're going to go to the last two documents that I wanted to show you, and these are the evidence-based care sheets and the quick lessons. So to get to those, if you go to the top toolbar, you'll see them both listed here. You click on the evidence-based care sheets, you can search for one, or you can simply select one. So in this case, I will just do a quick search for this one. So neonatal abstinence syndrome. So I just type in neonatal here. It'll bring up the appropriate entry. Okay, and I can select this one. I click search. It will then take me to the result, and I go directly to the full text record. So these are in HTML full text, which means they're great for online viewing, also for ease of navigation, so you can see what we know about this condition, what we can do about it. So in other words, as a nurse, as a midwife, etc., healthcare professional, what you need to learn or what you can do in response to this particular condition. It also gives you the references that are cited, and for each of these references it is coded as well. So if you look below, you'll see there's a coding matrix. So these are the codes, so M for meta-analysis, SR for published systematic review, etc., and RCT for randomized control trial. Then if you scroll back up, you'll see each of these reference has been assigned a code. So item 2, RCT, it's a randomized control trial, etc. Okay, so that highlights the quality of the evidence that's been as a source for the content in this particular evidence-based care sheet. Two other features to highlight here, as it's HTML, the ability to translate this. So obviously this is in English, but you can translate it. Okay, so for example, I won't run this by the way, but Relk is there, so you can translate accordingly.
Thanks very much, Richard. I'm just going to interrupt you there because you're just running a little bit over time and just conscious we have 2 more presentations to go.
Sure. Okay. Yep. Okay. So, and then finally the quick lessons. So again, I can just choose one from here, acute myocardial infarction, and you'll see again, it's a similar looking format, but it covers these areas, the description, etiology, facts and figures, risk factors, and so on. So these are designed to support nurses at the point of care with the information that they need to know about this particular condition, etc. Okay. And if you want more support information, there is the EBSCO Connect website. I'll just scroll down below here rather than go to the PowerPoint. and you can see the link there to EBSCO Connect. This is where you'll find support information, including tutorials for using CINAHL and the EBSCO's interface, which these are available on. So we've got these tutorials which you can refer to in your own time for using this database and other related ones as well. Okay.
Thanks very much, Richard. I appreciate it's quite a big ask to cover CINAHL in 10 minutes.
Yes, it
is.
is.
With the breadth of knowledge and expertise which you have. So thank you very much, Richard. And just to note that our vendors provide training as well to our staff. Should anybody want to follow up, the best thing is really to contact my office, hli@hsv.ie, and we can arrange for that. So I'm going to pass over now to Katie Nuskoff, who comes to us from the Royal Pharmaceutical Press. And Kate is going to talk to you about Medicines Complete and show you what you have access to. Thanks very much, and you're very welcome, Katie.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as I can. So I am a UK sales manager from the Royal Pharmaceutical Society's knowledge business, which is Pharmaceutical Press, and I'm going to briefly run through Medicines Complete, which is a tool you should all have access to. It's an amazing tool. It should hopefully help support you make confident decisions at point of care. So I'm just going to share my screen with you so you can have a look at Medicines Complete. Here we go. Fingers crossed. So hopefully you should all be able to see my screen. This is the homepage for Medicines Complete, which you should all have access to. If you don't, you speak to Aoife. There are various ways you can search Medicines Complete. We've got a search engine there where you simply type in a drug name or treatment area. You can look at all of our publications, or you can scroll through to a specific one, for example, BNF. We've got critical illness for those of you working in ICU, palliative care, and so on. Also, if you scroll to the bottom of the screen, you've got all of our publications listed there, which you can browse. That way, a little bit more like the book layout in this way. So you've got the drugs and the treatment areas, but most people tend to use the search facility on the main page. You'll see there's a number of checkers here, which I will go through as well. And you've got access to a clinical calculator. So if you need to calculate pregnancy due date or BMI, you can do that relatively quickly. So as I say, we've got our search engine there. And as soon as you start to type in the drug name, it's intuitive, so it will try to guess what you're looking for. So if we just search all publications, this is the results page that you will get. I'm just going to reset that because it has not worked, of course. There we go. So this is a search page that you'll get. At the top, you've got a medical dictionary, which obviously explains what the drug is, but also how to pronounce it if it's something you're not familiar with. We also have a dosage card. So if you click expand there, you will get information from the BNF, and it's just on dosage, and you can scroll over to BNF for children and look at the dosage information there. There's also some data from Marsden, which is a bit more comprehensive. As you'll see, the results are listed as best match first. But on the left hand side, you can see all the different resources available to you, and you can pick the one of interest. So if we just look at the BNF amoxicillin drug monograph there, you can scroll through it. Or alternatively, on the left are the subsections, so you can jump to the area of interest, for example, unlicensed use. You'll see there's some content that's highlighted, and that's because I've got this button switched on, which is evidence grading. So you can see the strength of recommendations. This is A, so this is the highest level, and it goes down accordingly. You can also switch on highlight search, which will bring up the drug names throughout the monograph if that's what you need to look at. We've got side effects and interactions, pregnancy and breastfeeding for those working in midwifery, which is very important, but it's quite top level stuff in the BNF. So if you want to look at some more detailed information on that drug and breastfeeding, you can go up to the top right and scroll through the different resources available. So if we have a look in drugs in pregnancy and lactation, for example, amoxicillin's there. You don't need to type it in, it's already there. You've got the subsections again, so all of the pages follow a very similar format. You've got much more comprehensive information there, and it's all fully referenced. So as I say, you can just flick in between the resources. If you are looking at drugs outside of the UK, Martindale is the reference to use. It covers 54 territories. And if you scroll down to preparations, you can actually have a look at the different countries that drug's available in and find out what the drug names are in those countries. If you click through, you'll get a little bit of information on the manufacturer should you need to get in contact with them. So if we go back to the main page, I'm just going to go through some of the checkers with you because these are really great when facing patients and having not a lot of time on your hands. Stockley's drug interactions. So you can type in any drugs, but you can also look at interactions between food, drink, and smoking with drugs. So I'll just get a few examples up here. So again, it's trying to work out what you're after using that intuitive search function. Let's go for, so as you can see, you can type in as many as you need. Let's go for Ramapril. So clicking search, you've got your results coming up. The most important ones will come up to the top. We work on a traffic light system. So as you can see, we have a severe reaction highlighted in red there. There's an interaction between these two drugs, a full explanation, any actions that need to be taken. And there's also a link through to Stockley's drug interactions there for the full monograph. You can see these ones are highlighted in green because you're good to go. There's no expected interaction between these drugs. You can also get to the other checkers on the top right here. So we've got our Martindale ADR checker. You can just type in a drug name or you can type in the ADR. So for example, if a patient is presenting with some bleeding and the only drug that they're taking is this, we can see if there's any, interactions between those. There we go. So you've got the drug name, you've got the ADR, the frequency, the route, and there's a management summary. Again, a link through to the full monograph from Martindale for a more comprehensive read. There's also a filter on the top left. So you can filter on frequency, you can filter on the age of the patient. You've got body systems there and the route as well. If we take out bleeding, you can see that there's a whole host of ADRs associated with this drug. So that filter will definitely come in handy. Again, we've got our traffic light system, red being the most extreme and severe, and then orange and green. So we go back to our home page. We've got our new drug compatibility checker for those of you that will be administering injectable drugs and you're worried about any interactions. A really quick to use tool you can access from the main page. So if you are using a syringe, you can type in up to 6 drugs. Let's just pick a couple. Again, it's trying to guess what you're after. Let's have a look at the results for that. Oh, typical, it's going to be slow. There we go. Oh, well, that's not right. There we go. I'm going to do that again because I seem to be having some internet issues. Okay, so you can see that there is a result. We've got 16 results. At the top, you're going to get your published results, and this is data that comes from our ASHP injectable drug information resource, which you will have full access to, but this tool is linked to that. You can see there's 7 compatible drug concentrations, and they are all listed below. Again, that traffic light system, so very easy to see. And then there's the red for the incompatible ones. And then following that, you will see clinical practice reports. Now, this data comes from our palliative care formulary syringe driver database. So the language is slightly different. There's 8 appeared compatible because it's observational data, and this has final concentration rather than dosage. So just be aware of that. And finally, we have our drug monitoring checker, which is a great tool if you are going to administer a drug that a patient has not had before. You can have a look at any monitoring that needs to be done. If we just pick clotting test, for example, it's advising us before starting treatment, yes, we need to do these tests. Any actions if the results are abnormal, and then after starting treatment, any monitoring that needs to be done. And as you can see, there's that grading system again, so you can see that that's come from manufacturer information. So yeah, there's a variety of ways you can access the information. We do have a user guide section here as well, which are just short videos which will walk you through some of those individual resources, the BNF, Martindale, and so on. You also can view some of our webinars, which have patient case studies and examples of how to use it in your line of work. If you do have any questions, please get them through to Aoife. She can pass them on to me. We also have a feedback section here. We'd absolutely love to hear any feedback that you have on the tool. So yeah, hopefully I've saved some time there, and thank you for having me.
Great, thank you very much, Katie. We appreciate your time and the whistle-stop tour there of Medicines Complete. We're getting a lot of questions about access, so hopefully we are able to respond to those in the chat. And if not, please get in contact with us. So last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Fabio Di Bello, who comes to us from Wiley, and Fabio is going to talk to you about the Cochrane Library, which, a bit like BMJ Best Practice, is available to everybody in Ireland. Thank you, and you're very welcome, Fabio.
Thank you so much, Aoife, for having me today here. And I'm just now trying to share my screen. And let me know if you can see my slides, please.
Yes. Excellent,
fantastic. So I'm Customer Training Manager at Wiley. And what I'd like to do in this 10 minutes time slot that I have been allocated today is just talk to you through what's the Cochrane Library, what is the usefulness of using the Cochrane Library systematically to improve clinical decision making at the point of care. I'd like also to just go online for 5 minutes and show you the basic and the most important functionalities and the most advanced searching features that we have added recently, like the PICO, the mesh, and the search manager function. Just for those of you who are not familiar with the Cochrane Library or the Cochrane Network Organization, the Cochrane Network is a huge international network made of health professionals that are passionate about improving health outcomes everywhere in the world. And the objective is actually to provide an objective analysis of the evidence, possibly unbiased, reliable analysis of the conclusions that are published in the clinical studies and that you can find in the medical literature around the world. And with regard to the Cochrane Library, that's a collection of databases, and precisely those are the databases that you will be accessing in the Cochrane Library. Besides the database of systematic reviews, you'll also be accessing the central register of controlled trials, the Cochrane clinical answers, and we have also added recently 2 additional databases from McMaster University, the health system evidence and the social system evidence. With regard to the Cochrane systematic reviews, they are absolutely fundamental for clinicians having to make decisions on the field, in front of the patients. They basically synthesize all the available evidence which has been published around a specific, clearly formulated question. So you need basically, you have a tool that allows you to understand how reliable the evidence is behind a specific question, clinical question, and also basically how you can put the evidence into practice in the clinical arena. The Cochrane Central Register of Controlled Trials is a huge, perhaps the largest world database of randomized controlled trials. We collect metadata coming from those sources. So starting from PubMed, Embase, clinical trial registries, and we also added CINAHL that you have definitely seen before. And we have also added some Cochrane Reviews Group specialized registers. Now, I talked to you about decision making. Our systematic reviews are long, and we thought of creating some tools that synthesize the most important actionable elements coming from a systematic review. So we have created the Cochrane Clinical Answers, and those are basically as a bulleted point, synthesized actionable knowledge that can be derived from a systematic review. It should be easy for you to quickly, real-time answer a specific clinical question. So what I'm going to be doing right now is go online and show you these basically search options that I think you will find useful. So let me just go online and connect to the landing page. So this is the landing page. One thing that I always suggest you to do is sign in. And if you sign in, you'll actually be able to create alerts and save your searches, use the search manager. So I just recommend you to do that. One thing that is something new that we added recently is the browse by PICO structure. So you can actually decide to, rather than browsing by topic, but browsing by population, intervention and comparison, and outcome. Now, if you browse by topic, just like to remind you that you can use the set email alerts button that will allow you to basically create your own alerts, and you basically can choose your own topics and subtopics and create alerts. Let's go straight to the search function. Okay, now you probably are familiar with the basic search function, whereby you can enter a keyword and a search and define the context. Now, remember that when you choose all text, you are expanding the search to the entire full text of the systematic reviews that are hosted in the Cochrane library. Now, when you actually click on search, you are searching the entire database. And the good thing is that all the search results are listed. I don't know why it's taking too long. It's normally very quick. It's probably, all right. I can see it's just taking, let me just close it. And okay. Well, I must be really unlucky because, okay, normally it works pretty fast. So as you can see, we have searched Crohn's disease in the title and abstract and keyword, and the results are broken down by type. So you can see what are the Cochrane reviews, the Cochrane protocols, the clinical answers, and you can filter your results using the filters here in the left-hand side panel. One interesting filter is status, and you can actually retrieve what are the systematic reviews, how many of these 66 systematic reviews are in the process of being updated with a new search for new evidence, and how many of these 66 have actually contains conclusions that have been changed following to the publication of new evidence. Few words about the advanced search, because I've only got a few minutes left and I'd like to share this useful information. So when you click on the advanced search module, you'll see 4 tabs here. And the first one, search, allows you to build up complex searches, like, you can combine Crohn's disease, you can use the Boolean operator and or and not. You can actually add here, another key term like mesalamine, for instance, and you can basically combine more terms together in defining different contexts and using the Boolean operator. The search manager is actually a functionality that you can use only if you sign in. And here, you know, the advantage is that you can run your searches, your relevant searches, whenever you need to. You can combine more searches together. So you can really, it's a sort of repository of relevant searches for you. The mesh, as you know, the medical subject terms, you know, is available in the Cochrane library. You can decide to search for a mesh term rather than a free term. So when you do that, you have an opportunity to look up at the tree by clicking on lookup. You can decide to explode a single tree or use a single mesh term. And then, as you can see here, you can visualize the results straight away. Finally, you can click on Pico search, and in the Pico search, you can actually perform a search using a Pico structure. So for instance, you can see when you click on atrial fibrillation, you can choose population or outcome. If you are using, I don't know, warfarin, you can see that the system asks you to choose intervention or comparison. And so, for instance, you can see how warfarin compares with oral anticoagulant. And you can click on comparison, and you can also add outcomes, like for instance, stroke. And you can choose the outcomes. So you can see now we are building up a Pico search, defining the population, the intervention, the comparison, and the outcome. And by clicking on Run Search, you actually retrieve the relevant records and you know, very precisely match your Pico structure. Great. So I can see that the system is slow. I don't know why. I apologize for this. I invite all of you to access our training hub, and where you can find a lot of useful resources and videos and useful materials for the Cochrane Library and in general for the evidence-based medicine topics. And I also would like to share this link with all of you, which will allow you to register free of charge to our upcoming webinars. And once again, you know, I hope this brief introduction was useful for you. If you have any questions, you can send me emails to ftbello@wiley.com. And I'd like to thank all of you for your attention and for inviting me. Any questions so far? Sorry, I think you're muted. I can't.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Yes, I was muted there. In the interest of time, I think we'll wrap it up now. And I really would like to thank each and every one of our speakers. We had a lot of expertise this morning. Thanks to Georgina Bassett, to Dr. Geraldine Shaw, to Lorna Peelo-Kilroe, to Gethin White, to Jazz Atwal, to Rachel Wilkinson, to Rani Southern-Darbar, to Guy Plowman, to Emma Hodkinson, to Daniela Cason, to Ali Boukabache, to Richard Crooks, to Katie Muskov, and finally to Fabio Di Bello and to my own staff for helping with assisting with the webinar today. Anne has been busy collecting email addresses. My intention is to make it available openly on our website, but with the ICT issues we currently have in the HSE, I can't guarantee it, but we'll certainly do our best. And there has been a call out from some of the suppliers who offer online training as well. It really depends on what stage you're at. If you are a complete beginner or advanced or mid-career, you know, there's always room for continuing professional development, and some of our suppliers offer that certainly as part of the subscriptions that we have with them. We will endeavour to answer any of the chat that we didn't get a chance to do so today. And yes, there is a question about CPD cert, which will be available to everybody that registered. So thank you all very much for your attention this morning, and thanks again. That concludes our session.